she's got a nice line for the takeoff here.
Yeah, key thing here is you've got to make sure you give yourself a runnable hoop, even if it's a bit longer than you might ideally want.
It's gone perfect. That is an absolutely perfect takeoff.
And you can run this to a boundary.
Yeah, I agree. That will should leave you a nice rush to blue, shouldn't it? So she has run that.
Actually,
it's been quite an impressive display so far. So just apologising for any tech issues we've had this morning getting live.
Well,
but
apparently, Chris, we've been talking for 10 minutes and nobody's been able to hear us. But we'll see the pictures. But I think we're on now.
So let's just recap then. Mark went in, played blue to the east boundary. Gabrielle played red and it finished in the corner.
Corner 2.
In corner 2.
Mm-hmm.
Getting a bit of hill to get in there. And then Mark hit the blue with the black from A bulk.
Centre ball.
Took off to red in corner 2, but hit hoop 2.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've seen people do that.
And then missed his 8-yarder.
Indeed.
So Gabrielle had a single ball target at 2 balls in corner 2 and hit that. Played a cannon which only finished 5 yards northwest of hoop 1, but has played a nice takeoff and a really very impressive controlled hoop shot. She's then loaded red to hoop 3 and it's finished only a couple of yards out of the corner. Got a rush out of hoop 2, but rushed it into the back of Penult, and hasn't got a rush on blue back to red.
Got a big decision here.
I don't think it's a decision. I think you go full out for the proper takeoff. I don't think it's going to hill off the lawn. I think you've got 2 yards to play with, and I fancy getting a rush on this.
I think she'll be short.
This looks pretty close to me. Very, very good effort. And it is probably 2 inches short.
Yeah,
but
well,
it's okay there.
That's okay.
She can just cut it, so it's a 4 or 5 yard straight approach.
Yeah.
2 balls down by hoop 4, and she should be away. We saw Ewan in this position yesterday, actually.
Yeah, and he failed hoop 3.
He did.
Yeah.
So both these players from England, and Gabrielle, correct me if I'm wrong, but the last lady player.
I think she's the last
in the
lady out of 6 originally.
Yeah. So many congratulations to Gabrielle. No woman has ever won a medal in this championship. Can she win 2 more matches and do it?
Well, she'll be thinking about just trying to win this one.
Exactly.
This is one of those hoops. I mean, she's run that pretty well. You don't really need a rush on red there, do you? Because there's blue available.
Exactly.
But I think she'll be rolling red to 5. Don't you?
No reason not to. Blue's not even on the boundary.
And you don't need to try and get a rush on blue. You're just trying to land sort of. I would be aiming sort of halfway between blue and black.
I'd probably aim a little bit closer to blue than that.
Okay.
But, the great thing here is the partner gets to hoop 5 straight away.
She's certainly gone closer to blue.
And red's
she's
okay.
Red's fine.
Yellow's a yard or 2 short.
Yeah. And the thing with these is, you kind of think, I'll be playing a croquet shot from where blue is, before she played that roll just then. But of course now she's going to be hitting blue. Okay, she's cut that to a boundary, but you know that it could have gone to corner 4.
It could have. I mean, one of the things I'll say is the shot from where blue wasn't ideal because it was coming across the rush line. So putting it a little bit further south gives me a tiny bit more margin of error on my croquet stroke, I think. She's just putting blue over to hoop 5 as a second ball. Red's gone a couple of yards deep. But the focus is on yellow. Make sure yellow gets a good rush on black.
It's gone wide on black, and it's not pointing at hoop 4.
No.
Now, when people do that, I wonder whether, rather than simply getting the wrong ratio, though, actually something's gone slightly wrong in the hitting area.
Quite possibly. It didn't sound like it came off the middle of the mallet. and I think the shot she's played there is quite a relevant shot to talk about. When I had these cut rushes at a little bit of distance, I just tended to hit them gently and accept I was approaching the hoop from straight. Lots of people play all out for the 1/8 ball cut rush, and when it doesn't go right, they've got a 4-yard approach from the side. And I'd rather make sure I just was guaranteed to be approaching from dead straight. Nothing should be able to go wrong from there. The hoops are almost unfaileable.
Well, so you keep saying. It's easy from the cheap seats though, Chris.
It is, but we haven't, if you look at the entire tournament, we haven't seen many hoop errors, have we?
No, not from people who've been in front and just stroked at the middle of the hoop.
Yeah.
I've seen plenty of people have a thrash and lose their form and
exactly,
and not hit the target.
And it's quite natural to start a last 16 best of 5 a bit nervous, and I've seen no sign of nerves from Gabrielle.
Well, if there were any, this should settle her down.
Yeah, but the hoop 1 she ran,
sure,
just
very smooth,
absolutely smooth. And how many players would have run that by 8 yards?
Well, absolutely. If she caught significant wire, that was sticking, wasn't it?
It
but
was.
She didn't. I was impressed with hoop 2 because that just flicked off one wire.
It's been a really nice display so far. We've often watched players and sort of criticised them for not having the break under control, and I know we watched some players and by one back it's still loose, and then they end up breaking down, and this is a tight position here.
One of your key bits of coaching is to impress upon people that once you've got a pioneer out and you're making a hoop, that should be the break established.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't be continuing to pick it up 2 or 3 hoops later.
Absolutely. So only ever have to pick it up once, and that was out of nowhere.
Oh dear. Well, that's not a settler. Now what's happened here?
I mean, if I'd have stuck in that, my first reaction would have been to have the ball tested.
Yeah, it kind of got most of the way through and rolled back. So that's a break for Mark, who's so far hitting nicely and then missed an 8-yarder, and that's all he's had to do.
I haven't seen anyone do that this tournament.
What, sticking a
hoop from inches at 10 degrees.
Don't have a word with Blake Fields then.
Well, he stuck him on from the jaws yesterday.
Yeah. Well, it looked like it was the jaws.
Possibly hitting it too gently.
No, I'm assuming it was angled. I actually saw the stroke.
Yeah.
I mean, he did look like a man who was just running the hoop. You know, he was doing a straight double peel, and he'd done the Irish peel bit, but his ball rattled in the hoop rather than coming through, and he just walked up and tapped it like it was going through, and next thing we knew he just had to put the clip on.
And that was on a turn to knock Robert Fulford out of the championship.
It was,
wasn't it?
yes. Robert employing what we call a stopping bisque, don't we, Chris?
I think yesterday we saw how important it is to be one of the top players in the tournament. Blake putting down that turn to beat Robert, and Aston missing a shortish Roquet after Rover to beat Reg in the first game.
Yeah.
And you think, well, if they were playing the number 10 seed or the number 12 seed instead of the number 2 or the number 3 5-time world champions, those shots and those turns would have finished.
Yeah.
And it's remarkable how having the reputation generates you better results purely on its own. So both those players lucky to get away with that yesterday. In the meantime, Mark, who's one of the most beautiful players to watch, has made hoop 1, croqueted red to hoop 3, going to black.
And you'd say he's already got his break established.
And I can't see any difficulty from here, but I think we should watch out. Maybe the hoops have been narrowed. Now we're getting to these later stages in the tournament. Maybe without the overnight rain that we had yesterday, maybe the lawns have firmed up a tiny bit, or was it just a lining up error? Because often when you get quite close to a hoop, people just go and hit it without actually looking exactly down the line that they need to be hitting it. And it's more difficult to line it up the closer it is to the hoop unless you actually go back and have a look at it.
Yeah. Well, we've got some early comments coming in. We're being asked if we put the commentator's curse on Gabrielle.
It was so good a turn though, wasn't it?
It was
just great. And I think, we've been sat here for days and we're trying to pick holes in technique, and we're trying to explain how you can improve your breaks and not smash through hoops by a long way, and Gabrielle had done it all right.
Yeah.
So actually finding out that suddenly the clip's on hoop 5 is a big surprise. Paddy's saying he quite fancies 2 pops on red here, and that's popping is peeling the opponent, and with yellow on hoop 5, what Paddy's suggesting is if he can get red to hoop 3, it means were Gabrielle to get in again, neither ball would be able to a standard TP.
That's right.
However, Mark is one of the most sort of standard basic break players.
Do the basics well.
Yeah.
Is Mark's game.
And that's a very strong strategy. I don't think he'll be looking at that. Fulford here, after hoop 3, would immediately send red to hoop 1. And he would peel red going to yellow at hoop 5.
Yeah.
And then he'd try and peel hoop 2 before hoop 6. And if not, after hoop 7. Mark here, I think, will play a 4-ball break to 4 back and probably make a diagonal spread, but he might make an NSL.
Well, he does mix it up a bit with his leaves. So
I mean, I quite like a NSL with red in hoop 4 and potentially yellow on the boundary.
Right. You'd leave the balls that way around, would you?
I would.
Because Gabrielle's probably looking to play yellow, isn't she?
She may be interested in a TPO.
Oh well, there we go.
But that would certainly have a lot of distance involved, my leave, and give a variety of options for the lift shot. I like giving variety. It just makes the opponent think a little bit more. But going back to Paddy's point, you're absolutely right. If you're trying to play to the peak of ability, you do want to peel red through hoop 1 and hoop 2. And then there are a range of leaves available for you. I'm not a fan of defensive leaves at Hurlingham, which make it difficult for the opponent to pick up a break and give a 13-yarder away. Whereas on a difficult playing surface, I think they're fantastic. But here I want to just maximise distance. How long can I make my opponent's shot? So clearly red didn't go down to hoop 1, and we won't be getting any popping.
No.
You were mentioning maybe having the balls the opposite way around.
Well, where exactly are you thinking of putting red? On the wire of 4.
I'm thinking no, in hoop 4.
Oh, in hoop 4.
So it doesn't rush to hoop 5.
Okay, right, yes.
Okay. So I'm saying if yellow hits, yellow's actually got some work to do to pick up a break.
Yeah, sure.
Now the danger of putting it in hoop 4 is you put it a bit too far through and you leave too much from A bulk, or you end up not being fully focused and leaving the ball in hoop 4 with a ball on the boundary behind as a sort of secondary target.
Yeah.
But
you have a little bit of work to do to get going if the lift is missed.
You do, and I'm keen to have that level of difficulty to try and get them to take a really long lift shot.
Now we've been joined by a few more people. Toby Garrison is tuning in. Now I was chatting with Elsa last night, and she thought Toby Garrison would have been a good candidate for nicest person in croquet.
Oh, what a lovely guy! Delight to have on any team, and just so easy to chat to. Talks to everyone, makes them feel at ease. Absolutely delightful guy. And I think expanding from that, what a fantastic game croquet is with the people you meet.
Absolutely.
And how nice virtually everybody is.
100%. Yeah.
So it's certainly been something that I've looked at and gone, well, yeah, I've been really lucky to meet so many nice people from different walks of life as well. We lost Dave Nick recently, didn't we?
Yes,
unfortunately.
sadly. Yeah.
Very down to earth, but a delightful guy.
Fabulous cat, great sense of humour.
Yeah.
And I think he did something like he represented his county, or he played county level at 5 different sports or something like
Wonderful.
that. Nicknamed the Quarryman,
Yep.
wasn't he? He was enormously strong.
So Mark, maintaining a pretty tight break here. Red's good at 2 back, get a nice rush to hoop 6. Yellow's pretty good at 1 back. Delightful player to watch, left-handed Irish. Many of you won't be able to get your wrist bent to certainly the angles that Mark can. But despite being a big man, he has wonderful touch.
He does. I don't know why people say that. Why shouldn't big men have wonderful touch?
Well, I think if you look at golf, and they end up hitting the ball so far that all the focus goes on power. And if Mark needs to play a big croquet stroke, he'll just play it. And the natural thing is to look at those shots where other people struggle and go, oh, he's got lots of power. And people often overlook the touch side of the game.
Yeah. It's something football commentators often say as well about tall footballers. He's got a very, very good touch for a big fella.
Yeah.
And you just want to go, well, he's a professional footballer. What do you expect?
Now, he's done something interesting here. He's put red to 2 back. Black to 2 back, which is where red was already placed. And is that because red's not ideal? Has red just gone in front of hoop 1, or is he going to peel red?
Is red clear on the south side?
Yes, it is. It's south of the hoop.
Okay, well.
So maybe he didn't like it as a pioneer.
A student of the game, Paddy Chapman, has already spotted that he could still get 2 pops with a rush peel of red before 1 back. Well, he's not done that, but
just
he might get 1 pop.
Lost a bit of control there. Hasn't got a forward rush.
No, so blue's now going to be moving a significant distance.
As well as yellow. Yellow has to be sent out to 3 back from quite a long way away.
Yeah.
If he's going to keep these 2 balls ready for maybe a rush peel. Possibly even putting red on the back of hoop 1 for his leave. We haven't had anyone do that.
No, we didn't think of that straight away, did we? Do you like putting a ball on the back of hoop 1 when there's a lift coming?
No, I don't. I think
is that because it's still a target from the corner or the end of bolt?
Yeah, or it goes wrong and then it's difficult to get back to it.
Yeah.
Again, yellow's a little bit far. You mentioned the hill yesterday, and that's clearly been going eastwards at the end. He started off at the hoop and it's just gradually drifted further east, and this lawn definitely has that as a noticeable feature. So lots of options here. I think he is interested in peeling this red.
I think he is.
And if so, he probably wants to hit black first and just nudge it through the hoop with a rush peel maybe.
No, he's well. Yeah, he is hitting. Now, where's he going here? I mean, one thing he could do is send black south, tap red and Irish peel, back Irish peel, red, approaching 2 back with blue.
Don't want to play that shot, Keith. That's not a shot that's in my...
Really, what could possibly go wrong with that?
Well, your ball could stick in the hoop, so you don't get a go, or because it might stick, you might hit it a bit harder and suddenly
end
have
up with
a
a
4-foot
yeah,
hoop.
absolutely.
So anyway, he's rushed it into the jaws, and now he's playing back from the other side, so he's not playing the Irish peel. The question is he going to nudge it through and then peel? And he is definitely now lining that peel up. So not the 2 pops that Paddy mentioned.
He's actually hit that quite hard, hasn't he?
But 1 peel.
Oh well, definitely he's going to attempt this.
And if he's going to do 1 peel, surely it would have been best to do 2.
Well, 1 makes hardly any difference, does it?
I think so. Sometimes it makes it easier. You might hit the first shot of the turn of the lift on partner and then immediately croquet to hoop 3. So he's got that peel. He won't be going for another one.
No, it's too late now, isn't it? He's only got 1 hoop left to make in this turn.
Yeah, not only is it too late, but the leave is starting to become more difficult. This, to me, to get a good leave out of the here, he has to put yellow into NSL position at hoop 4,
Yeah.
or in hoop 4. And it's not in a great position to do that. If it was a little bit short, a little bit west of 3 back, it would be fine. But now he's going to have to play a nasty roll to go past it. You could easily go into it, you could finish short of it, and then you've got to play an approach where you're trying to get yellow in a tight position behind the hoop from much further away. So he wants to get blue past yellow here.
Oh, he's played a nice roll.
And that's a good shot.
Yeah.
So we're thinking yellow's going to finish in NSL position on hoop 4. That's a nice place he's rushed it to for that. Not dead straight, he can just nudge it to the side. And then he could even argue that black can...
I think you think we're going to put it on the wire so it won't rush to 2.
I think so.
Yeah.
The question is, do you need to go and move red again? Or is red just good enough? If you start putting it on the wire and it comes a nice distance off the wire, red gets a target, not just of yellow, but missing yellow on the right, hitting the hoop and flicking onto yellow. And it's not that far away, red, is it?
No.
About 18 yards? As soon as you start offering a ball and a bit at 18 yards...
Is it? Yeah. Is it as far as that?
Well, it's 14 between 2 and 3,
Yeah.
and then it's the angle, adds another 4 yards on. So Mark wandering to A-bulk just to check where the end of A-bulk is, where yellow should be wired, and whether he puts it onto the wire so it won't rush to hoop 2, or just short so it's easily rushable to 1 for him. We'll have to wait and see. Certainly from Gabrielle's point of view, she's going to be able to lift the yellow, hit in and have an easy break next turn.
Yeah.
And that isn't one of the things I'm trying to achieve from the leave. So he's taking off from the opposite side to yellow, meaning he's going to leave it quite well away from the hoop. It'll rush to hoop 1. And is he going to go back and tidy red up?
Well, we'll find out. We will find out. I actually think he is. And why wouldn't you, really? Just move it
3-4 yards further?
Well, stick it on the boundary.
Sticking it on the boundary, that's a different line of play altogether, and I don't think we'll see Mark do that.
Really?
Say Rob will be looking to make the turn difficult for yellow, and he'll be trying to put red on the boundary. But Mark will want that red just a bit in lawn to make his break easier, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think he fancies himself to get going, even if red's on the boundary.
Now, this is my chance to make 800 into 1,000, isn't it, Keith?
I'm not sure he's even going to red now.
So, what he's looking at here is how far south he can roll the black without leaving red a target of maybe a quarter of yellow and the ball in the background.
I think he just looked at red.
So he's
Yes,
leaving it
good
there.
man.
He's leaving
Good
it there.
man.
We're back down to 600. So no double from red
So
from
I'm
A-ball.
expecting us to be short of red with a rush to the west boundary. And that looks pretty good to me. Oh,
You were doing
hang
so
on,
well for
hang
a
on.
moment then,
Oh,
Keith.
no.
So well.
Nightmare.
Now that you can't, even if you wanted red on the boundary, you wouldn't risk shotting it there and then lagging back to black.
No, you wouldn't.
You'd always just take off to black and make
Yeah.
sure red has a single ball target.
But I think that was his plan, though, wasn't it? That was just a takeoff that went a little too far.
I think you're trying to claim things that we'll never know.
We'll never know, but
So red clip goes on hoop 2, having popped it. I want to get the peg in the way of red and black here, so that if the final shot of my turn is imperfect, I still know I'm not leaving a double. So we've got the scoreboard back for you. Apologies that wasn't there immediately, but we did have a few technical problems this morning. Big thanks to Stephen Allen and his crew in the editing and broadcasting booth.
no, it's a fantastic takeoff from Mark.
It is,
Actually, isn't it?
if we're going to criticise it, the line's not perfect.
Well, but I
the-
think it might have curled.
it might have done. The length is very good, and
And it's good because he should only be moving blue a short distance to get the rush that he wants.
yeah, but it is across the line.
It is.
And if you get this half a ball out, red's going to have a ball and a half.
Yeah.
So one of the things you should be thinking about is what happens if I leave a rush to corner 2 or leave a rush to hoop 5. Is that going to guarantee not leaving a double? Whereas if I play to leave a dead rush at red and get it wrong, I might leave a ball and I
Right.
think it's worth not leaving the rush directly at red and leaving 3 ball gap between them.
Well, that's more or less leaving blue where it is.
It could be leaving egg blue exactly where it is. Quite right.
Now, where's that
Now,
rush
now
pointed?
that's rushing it at hoop 5. So that's the other option I mentioned. Again, making sure red hasn't got a double. And that looks okay to me. I think it's a very intelligent, sensible choice of last shot to guarantee nothing goes wrong.
Yeah.
So Mark's blue clip goes on 4-back, and he's now just had a comfortable turn with a peel on
That's
red.
a settler. That's
Yeah.
a settler for Mark.
Yeah. I think Gabriel needs to walk on here going, I played really well last turn and something just randomly went wrong.
Yeah, no, and I hit in
Yeah.
at the beginning of it.
Yep. I'm going to hit in again and I'm going to go round.
Yeah.
And I'm probably going to lift the yellow
Well, she's just going to check she hasn't got a shot with yellow first.
and probably wander to the end of A ball, can look at has she got any target, which I don't think she has. I think I'm going to lift the yellow. I'm going to take the long lift because it's not actually that much longer than some of the other shots. And I'd like to force Mark to do a delayed TP at least in the first game of this best of 5.
Okay. She's potentially looking at a shot that misses into corner 2, isn't she?
Yeah, not a big fan of that. One of the downsides of it is if you hit it in the middle and rush red to corner 2, it does make your next turn
Yeah.
that little bit more difficult.
It does. If she manages to hit black, there is quite a bit of room behind blue.
A lot of room. Yeah, there's no element of defensiveness other than the length involved here.
Well, she's going to a bulk.
And she is looking at red still.
Yeah. Now, at the pace she hits at, red won't go to corner 2.
Ah,
I
okay.
don't think.
I'm
I
going
don't
to
think so.
counter that by saying at the pace she hits at, shooting north-south at Hurlingham, this might start in the middle and miss.
Well,
We've got a great angle again, super angle. Yellow at red, started off missing on the right, yeah, and that's, just missed by 2 balls. Not a good shot. was always missing as soon as it came off the mallet, and went basically fairly straight. Might have moved a bit further away. So Mark here, the natural play would be to rush blue over and send blue to hoop 2, rush red to hoop 1, and I think that's what he'll do.
I'm pretty sure that's what he'll do. He won't be bothered by the fact that yellow's lurking in corner 2.
I'm just going to mention he might rush to hoop 1 straight away, and that would allow him to put blue to hoop 3. So that's what he's tried to do, and he's underhit it.
Now he's got a decision to make.
This is a long approach.
This has suddenly got a lot more difficult.
And I think he might go all the way to corner 2, roll yellow to hoop 2, and get a rush on red to hoop 1.
No, well, blue's coming up the lawn.
That's interesting.
Is he going to try and rush red to yellow?
I think he's going to try and rush red to hoop 1.
Okay, well, he's playing a foolish roll by the look of it.
We mentioned the other day, corner 2 isn't the nicest corner
to yellow.
I thought he might just take off to yellow.
Oh,
no, he's approaching hoop 1.
He's approaching hoop 1.
It's a good shot.
It's not bad.
Oh, just a little bit too far. He'll be happy with that though. These is pretty straight.
How's his hoop stroke?
Yeah,
that's
lovely.
Nice now.
Got a forward rush. Is this one of these instances where you might rush it all the way to hoop 3, Keith? Take off to yellow.
Well, he might. I mean, there's something to be said for it. No, he's not going to. There's something to be said for it in that it's just because of this lawn and this corner and approaching the yellow.
So if you don't do that, which he hasn't, how do you pick yellow up out of corner 2? I'm sure a lot of people at home are going, I don't understand how he's going to get yellow out of corner 2. So how would you go about that? Lovely croquet stroke again, blue to hoop 3 and a dolly rush that he can take either to hoop 2 or to corner 2.
Well, I think the one way I definitely wouldn't pick up yellow is to run hoop 2 and hit whatever roquet might be left, which might be 6 yards that it comes through straight, might be 5 yards if I get lucky, and it might be 7 or 8 yards if I don't. So, I mean, for somebody with Mark's ability, well, he's not going to do what I might have done. I was going to say he might make 2 with control and rush east, and then take off back to yellow, and then hit it and play a big split shot going to blue.
Well, I was going to say potentially he could make hoop 2 with control and rush into the corner and get a cannon.
Well, he might yet do that.
And if he gets a cannon, he can send the hoop ball to hoop 4, rushing the other one along the north boundary, and he's got a standard triple.
Well, I think he's hoping to get a standard triple.
And this is almost what we call the precision method of doing it.
Right, yeah.
So he's rushed there, and that has gone into the corner.
Yeah.
So just like Gabriel earlier in the game, Mark's got a cannon in corner 2. This time he'll be sending the croquet ball to hoop 4, going into the third ball and rushing it in the cannon. And you can rush it along the north boundary with this shot, can't you, Keith?
Yeah, how does the angle work?
Again, you're trying to put yellow very close to the striker's ball, and you're playing away for cannon.
Exactly what he's doing. So it's quite a natural angle, isn't it?
Yeah,
you line up black and red so that red goes to hoop 4, and then you just place yellow
and play it with a drive
close to black, and then
play it with a drive, probably aiming at the peg, maybe between peg and 6.
So from the croquet strokes point of view, sort of like a square split shot, or a bit more into red.
A bit more into red normally. I want this gap between black and yellow to be what we call a wafer. It's a wafer cannon, and just a wafer gap.
So
between,
a millimetre.
Yeah, you're not allowed to have them in contact.
No.
but the smallest gap that you can get, and then that'll get plenty of energy into the yellow to move it over towards the blue. Your main focus is getting a good hoop 4 partner.
Sure. And you've got a croquet stroke on yellow anyway too.
Absolutely. And blue's in a lovely place to go to.
Yeah. Right. And I think he'll be wanting yellow kept west of blue.
So there we go.
A bit like that.
Yellow's gone along the north boundary, red's gone all the way to hoop 4.
That's pretty good.
And we're going to give that...
Oh, just travelled. Again, it's just travelled.
7.
Only a 7. Mm.
Yeah, red's just gone a wee bit outside our rectangle, hasn't it? Outside that imaginary line between hoop 1, hoop 2, hoop 3, hoop 4, back to hoop 1.
Yeah, and that just means there's a much smaller area that you want to rush yellow into before hoop 4.
Correct.
In order to get it to hoop 5.
Yeah. So wants to put yellow out as an escape ball now, and bad places you can put it are in front of hoop 3, into hoop 3, directly behind hoop 3. So they're the bad places. And when you're playing croquet, knowing where the bad places are is almost as important as knowing where the good places are.
And
so
you often learn where the bad places are from experience.
Indeed.
Don't you?
So yellow's gone too far there, but it's not in a outright bad place. He's going to end up peeling after hoop 3 with pull. There's no way he can just play a sort of stop shot peel and get a rush on yellow. So he's going to be playing a split roll or a split takeoff. Nice place to approach the hoop from. Should be able to get blue nicely behind.
No, when you say nicely behind, how far do you think blue's going?
I'm going to put it 2 feet behind.
Right. About there then.
That's great. Very happy with that. Happy to run it into it, and if I've got to this position, I'm thinking game's pretty much over. This isn't a difficult set of shots. Even if you only jaws the blue here, you want to focus on getting a good rush on yellow, south, and then find the spot on the lawn you want to play the croquet stroke from. For some people it might be corner 4, some people might be happy playing it 10 yards north of corner 4, 12 yards north of corner 4.
Well, corner 4 you would get a straightish croquet stroke, wouldn't you?
Yeah, so it's the best place to rush it to.
If you've got the stop shot, which I think there should be enough room there.
It's a drive for me from there, Keith.
Okay.
That isn't even the stop shot. If I get it all the way into the corner, it's a lovely take-off peel. Very elegant.
Well, that's
but black's
probably
gone a
not
fraction
rushing
too far.
Yeah. And he's not rushing that to corner 4 for me.
Lots of people here will try and rush this to hoop 5 and take off behind red. And I'm just going to rush it probably 3 yards short of where Mark's rushed it and play a croquet stroke. From 3 yards short, I can guarantee I'm not going to go into red and I'm not going to go off the lawn. And here he's almost forced into playing a thick takeoff or a thin takeoff, and he's not going to have a great hoop 5 pannier. Whereas I would have had a genuine croquet stroke to play. So he's nudged yellow halfway to 5.
He's done it pretty well though.
And black's good. So after making hoop 4, he'll try and rush red back to corner 3 and get blue over to hoop 6.
Depends on getting this rush right, doesn't it?
Didn't play the rush particularly well there, and almost looking as if he might just tidy up yellow and leave blue there. It's not guaranteed he's playing for a rush back to corner 3 here, but he is. That's definitely an attempt to rush red to corner 3. I always found this shot to be one of the more challenging shots, because you've played a sequence of controlled gentle strokes and suddenly you have to just extend your swing, hit it that fraction harder, and as we saw with Robert Fulford the other day, this red isn't going far enough. He can't get that to hoop 6 and get a rush on blue. So why's that happened?
No, that's a good question. Why do you think it's happened? I don't think it's the balls.
No, I just think he's gone, I don't want to extend my swing. the lawn's easy enough that even if I nudge red 3 or 4 yards over there and get a good rush on blue, it's all good enough. I don't need to extend my swing after hoop 4. So I'll just make sure I hit it in the middle and get it up there.
Yeah, this looks. He's got quite a good stop shot as well. So
Got halfway there.
that's fine, isn't it?
We
It's
don't
actually
like
fine.
this next shot. So both Keith and myself don't rush blue over to hoop 6 and take off to yellow. We tend to
yeah.
rush down toward back south of hoop 4 and croquet it back up.
That's partly because he needs a rush on yellow.
Yes.
So he needs a. He's playing this, what? 14, 15 yards.
That's a good
Where
shot.
is that? Is that level with it? Or has he
It's
got something
pointing just north of the hoop, I think. But very acceptable. That's Mark's watch beeping at him for some reason.
Probably.
So Mark actually one of the fittest, most athletic players in the game, despite
Well,
the
he
fact
does a lot of running.
yeah, does marathons.
Yeah.
And I think he's part of a running club. So yeah, very fit, despite the fact he's in his late 50s now, I think.
He is 57.
Yeah, yeah. So still keeps very active, and certainly won't be fazed by these matches going from best of 3 to best of 5. And this is again back under control again, despite the fact red's not ideal. He'll just feel it's completely a comfortable place to have it. Blue at 6 ready for the peel after penult.
We've seen that people put yellow too far in this sort of shot, but Mark's not made that mistake.
Yeah, so 2 yards short is fine, but 2 yards too far is bad.
It's inside the rectangle.
Yeah. So Mark has got 2 options with red. He can place it a bit further north, which would allow him to play a straight stop shot peel. But what he's done, he's placed it further south, and that will allow him to play the peel more firmly, but with a little bit of pull. Again, making sure he doesn't rush blue directly in front of hoop 6, so he can place it behind the hoop.
If you're in this much control, wouldn't you always put red there?
Well, he's played a poor shot there.
Well,
We remember the hill.
He's been hit by the hill.
Yeah. And
Now
he's
then.
done well there. But you don't want to aim at this quarter ball gently, do you? Quarter ball gently runs the risk of missing it.
That's done reasonably well there. Can he get easily to red?
Yeah, I think he can. He can split past the hoop.
Because he wants to rush north, doesn't
He does.
on red.
Yeah. And there's not a lot of pull with this shot, played with a stop shot at a fairly narrow angle. That's very nice. You don't need it all the way down to rover. In fact, in some
No,
ways
there's
it
plenty
can,
of time, isn't there?
Yeah.
You're not really concerned about trying to peel to peel rover going to 2 back, but as long as you can set it up to peel it going to 3 back.
yeah, so getting blue away from hoop 6, so it's not a crosswire potential, is useful.
Yeah,
Blues.
peeling it by an inch is horrible, isn't it?
Can be difficult, can't it?
Whereas jawsing it is a lot better.
Yeah. Let's see how he gets on with this 2-back Pioneer. I think we've seen a couple which have hilled left to right. So is this going to keep hilling? It is, and it's moving. It's keep hilling. It's in, yeah.
Oh, just whipped off the hoop there.
So traditionally, that corner is one of the faster corners in the club, with the big tree sucking the moisture
Sucking
out.
the moisture out, yes.
And ground staff again have done a fantastic job getting these lawns to be good pace. And yesterday morning we just had that overnight rain and they weren't quite that fast. I think they've picked up that extra half second again.
I'm going to stick my neck out and say this brown area near corner 2 has actually got a bit bigger.
Yes, it definitely has, and we haven't actually had a lot of footage from down on lawn 1, but there's a lovely area down in the corner 4 area that expands well into the lawn, that is probably the fastest area on the front 4 lawns. Had a very entertaining match yesterday there between Tom Balding and Stephen Mulliner. Ended up as a 2-ball game, Stephen on hoop 1 and Tom on hoop 2.
Really?
And
now how did that come about?
So it was fascinating. So Tom hit the lift, I think, and did a TPO, that's a triple P on the opponent, and pegged out Stephen, but left his own 2 balls on the lawn. And after quite a bit of interplay, where Stephen had multiple chances, Stephen was in front of hoop 1, and Tom was near hoop 2, and it wasn't clear whether he was trying to put his peg ball in corner 4 or peg it out. Because his hoop 2 ball was sort of 8 yards west of corner 3, and whether he was going for corner 4 or the peg, I'm not entirely sure, but he hit the peg, and the American crowd gave him a big round of applause, whereas I thought it was disastrous. Because a 1-point lead in a 2-ball game when your opponent sat in front of hoop 1 isn't a very big lead, and Stephen duly took a lead in the 2-ball game.
Right.
But Tom hit back in and eventually won by 5, I think, to take a place in the last 16. So the Americans did very well yesterday. Obviously Rothman played Stephen Morgan, so one of the Americans had to lose because they were playing each other. Blake Fields almost beat Robert Fulford. And obviously Zach's through. Matthew started to show the form we were expecting. Matthew won in 11 turns, I understand, at Roehampton. And that's the sort of form that we're looking for from the number 5 seed, the current GC World Champion.
Now Mark's played that blue much further than he would have wanted.
Yeah, you'd almost say 5 yards further.
Yeah, he was hoping to have it sort of a yard and a half in front of Rover, I would think.
And if anything, on the 2-back side rather than the 3-back side, because he's coming to it from that direction. He's done well to get a rush over there, so he will be able to tidy it up. You get a lovely pace of play, isn't it? It's so smooth and fluent.
Yeah, he doesn't hang about. One thing that saves a lot of time is that he doesn't do casting.
No. And lots of people, particularly when it gets windy, end up casting over and over again. I was a caster, but I tended to just sort of waft it over the ball once.
Yeah, you were a wafter rather than a caster.
And then just hit it.
And then, yeah. I see some people, not necessarily players here, but they'll cast on everything.
Yeah.
They'll be running a 1-foot straight hoop and they'll cast 6, 7, 10 times. I just think it must be exhausting.
So a nice 4-back Parnia and a rush on blue in front of Rover.
Oh, it's a bit flicky.
Yeah, he does that, doesn't he?
A bit flicky.
It is one of his sort of traits that bottom hand can come in and just sort of poke a wee bit.
Well, if you were coaching people, would you tell them to just use your normal swing?
Absolutely, just make a smooth swing, trying to come from the shoulders. We're trying to reduce the amount the wrists actually take part in the game. Obviously, when you're starting to need power, you do have to have a level of wrist input. But generally, particularly when you're playing on these lovely quick lawns, you can just smooth every shot.
Well, we've 2 issues there.
Yeah.
Blue's not gone through, and black's going to need to cut yellow. He's done okay.
Still approaching from the side.
Yeah, we don't like that, do we?
No, not at all. He will be able to take off in front, hopefully, run the hoop past yellow, rush yellow to the south boundary, send yellow to penultimate and rush blue in front of rover and take off to red.
It's a long take-off.
It is a long take-off.
Well, but he's got a good
short.
enough red.
This is short.
Is it runnable?
Yeah, this is definitely runnable, but he's well short of where he wanted that. He's jumping. I didn't think it needed jumping. I thought this was one of the ones you could...
This is off yellow and blue's at yellow's hoop.
Yeah.
This is a critical moment.
I thought he'd just stroke this into the far wire.
I don't think he's running this.
Yeah, easy. The hoop moved a long way, didn't it?
You back up to
if we get a replay of that, if our replay function's available, here we go. Watch how much the hoop moves. It's not a good angle to see that. Our angle was better. I saw the hoop move quite a long way left, and it almost looks as if it's leaning that way now. So anyway, a good hoop stroke.
Very good.
But they're the sort of ones that you're hoping, as the out player.
Well, you just get a glimmer of hope.
You do,
don't you?
Yeah.
And Gabrielle might have been half out of her chair there.
Yeah. And
she can just sit down again now.
I mentioned rushing blue in front of rover and taking off to red. You don't have to do that. You can put yellow to penult and rush blue up the lawn, and then have a shorter take off to red and position blue in front of rover with a croquet stroke before penult. That's a more precise method. The downside is you only get one go at it.
Yes.
And what he's done is the worst of both worlds.
Why has he rushed that so far away from rover?
So now he can't get blue in front of rover, and he's still got to play the long takeoff.
Yeah.
So the worst of both options. I think he was trying to rush it north, but clearly just didn't have quite a good enough stop shot. So he's played a thick takeoff, moving black in front.
He's done well, actually.
And that thick takeoff is significantly more difficult than a thin takeoff for most players. And Mark's...
He's made that look easy.
Yeah, black's just great, isn't it? And blue... Would you go back to blue now, after 4 back, or would you say that's good enough?
Blue's fine.
You're happy with that, are you?
Blue. Yeah, I'm leaving blue.
Okay.
I don't want to play the takeoff coming
yellow.
back to get a rush on yellow, particularly.
On a really quick lawn that's firm, I might go back to blue here.
Okay, well.
But here I agree with you, it's good enough.
I think it's good enough. I'd be amazed if he doesn't rush that 2 feet in front of rover and be absolutely fine.
I remember playing Robert Fletcher in the Robertson Shield, and I had my peelee 3 inches to the side of rover. And I thought, that's fine. It's fine. No problem with that. And by the time I went down there again, I found that it was going to be going down a cliff when I moved it. I tried to nudge it 4 inches.
Well, he's gone back to it.
Moved it 1 inch.
He's gone back to it.
So yellow isn't a bad ball to be taking off to. You're not going to cross wire yourself at penult by it being in the wrong place.
He's tried to put red in the way.
Yeah, I would have always put red on the opposite side of the peg to yellow.
Yeah, sure.
So straightens it up.
Now you need a thin takeoff.
You do.
Otherwise you end up putting blue back where it's just come from.
Yeah. I always quite like thin takeoffs. Just getting it to move a half an inch or just shake.
Yeah.
Wasn't a difficult shot.
This is moving. Yeah, you see, is blue hugely better than it was?
It's a tiny bit, but black, on the other hand, is much worse.
Yeah. Well, he may cut this north, but I think it's another...
No. Remember, we know the hill here.
We know the hill.
He's taking off from the wrong side, because the hill's going to move it east.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to end up with an angled hoop.
Yeah.
Or a longer, straighter one. But if he tries to play for 9-inch position, he's going to end up with an angled hoop. There it goes, starting to go.
Yeah, okay.
Just move the ball.
Well, he went longer, which is sensible.
Yeah.
And he's coped.
That would have been sweaty for him, wouldn't it? He'd have been thinking, "Oh, look, I've won this game, Mark, I've won this game, and now
exactly.
What on earth are you doing here?"
Yeah. Well, that was a product of going back to blue in my mind. But anyway.
Yeah, I think we both agreed blue was good enough on this type of lawn, where it's quite easy just to nudge it a few inches and get a good contact, and there's no real hill down that part of the lawn. So rolling yellow behind the hoop, getting black to the red. There's no need to put yellow deep to the boundary here, is there?
No, because he's going to do an Irish peel, isn't he?
Yeah. So no chance of ever needing to jump through the hoop.
You would hope not. Well, if you approach it from as close as we think he will be, you've got very little chance to jump, have you?
Absolutely, yeah. So red should be just a fraction south of level with the hoop. So if black runs through the hoop by half an inch, it can still hit the red ball.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, yellow would be straighter.
Exactly. You really want a straight one, or straightish one.
But he was putting it out from so far away, he didn't have that control.
Because he didn't have the control at Penol.
Yes.
Because if you run this still in the jaws, it's awkward.
It can be awkward. So Mark doing what I do, again looking at the edges of the balls and lining up the middle and all that sort of thing, but he's doing it as a crouch position rather than prostrate on the lawn.
He's doing that thing where you're almost about to play it and then you fiddle with the ball.
The last thing you should do after lining it up is make sure they're in contact.
That is true. Yeah. And then it's just a question of, well, you mustn't hit it too hard.
Can't send blue off the lawn.
And then you're just running the hoop with black.
And there we go.
That's okay.
And if he taps that gently, he should be able to move blue away from the line of peg and 5.
When do you deem that necessary?
Anywhere where it's sort of a foot or less through the hoop, I would do it. If it's...
He's clearly decided he's fine.
And I think he is.
Ooh, yeah. I like to organise a real dolly rush on blue.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think he'll be able to do that.
Yeah. And he should be able to rush it about 2 yards away from the peg. From here, I would think. Maybe 2.5. He's got a rush that should never hit hoop 5.
Well, fortunately, that's absolutely fine.
Lovely.
That's brilliant. And on this occasion, he hasn't got a doubles partner who can come on and line it up for him.
Aha, well.
Because he famously missed a peg out, having had his doubles partner come and line it up for him.
So, Mark's going to win the first game, 26 TP5. Well done.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go and try and find Tudor Jenkins.
Okay.
And he'll take over from me for the next game. And then I'll be back later on. And no doubt Keith will be able to interrogate Tudor on his magnificent sextuple peel that he had a few weeks ago.
Yes, I've heard about this.
So look forward to that, and I'll see you later.
Thanks, Chris. So I think there's going to be a short break in the play because I can see Gabrielle striding up the hill to the house. Mark's just collecting the red clip from hoop 2 so he can put them all back on hoop 1. And I can see Tudor striding over to the commentary position. He'll be with us very shortly.
Thank you.
Hello, Tudor.
Hello,
Welcome.
Keith. That was Mark seemed to pretty well have the measure of the court in that game.
You were impressed with that, weren't you?
I was. It's there wasn't much drama once things got going.
Now, while we're just waiting for game 2 to start, this would be a splendid opportunity for you to tell the listening public about your sextuple peel, which I've been hearing about.
Oh, I do love to talk about this. So,
What was the occasion?
it was the cow horn, and in the first round I drew Robert Fulford,
Right.
which was not such a good draw, but it was a different league to anyone I'd ever played. It was just qualitatively and quantitatively different. He laid up for a sextuple and peeled or popped both of my balls and cross-wired me on who won, and he seemed to do it with so much time and totally. There was never a moment where he was scraping to get anywhere. It was extraordinary. And
Right.
anyway, so I missed not the lift, the
The long shot.
no. Well, he crosswired me, not quite straight, but almost straight on hoop one,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought I'd try and put a bit of topspin on
Oh,
and go
right.
through and just
Oh, I see. Oh,
come off.
right.
But
Okay.
the topspin didn't work. I went through and missed.
Okay. Okay.
And anyway, he completed his sextuple elegantly. So I thought, a couple of games later, I thought I'll have a go at this. And I do practice some, so I find it quite fun to practice.
So who were you
Concentrate.
playing against when you did this?
Neil Coots.
Okay.
And I lay up for a lady sextuple, which I don't. Maybe that's controversial to call it that. There was a discussion, so maybe I'm not. And the reasons for it being called that, I think, were to do with a ladies' tournament in Australia where everyone made that leave. But maybe I'll call it the one-back sextuple.
Well, it
layup.
was John Solomon's design of sextuple leave, I believe.
Is it?
Yes,
Okay.
it's the leave where you cross-wire the opponents at hoop 1,
Yeah.
and then you come up to one back and you leave the hoop 1 back ball between hoop 2 and the north boundary.
So I used to do that, but I didn't in this case. I found an easier way to make the leave, which I saw a very old footage of Rob Pulford doing this, where you make the crosswire after 5,
Okay.
and you then have a rush to 6,
All right.
and it's not a difficult rush, and it means that you have a much closer approach to one back after 6, and it's
Right.
much easier, because I think the hardest bit of that sextuple is the leave to end up in the jaws.
Yes, you've got to be careful you don't run the hoop, haven't you?
Yeah. So anyway, I did that, and it was just one of those breaks where everything went into the right place. It was very easy. Nothing.
So did you got the first peel before you made
Actually-
hoop 1, presumably?
So
And
so
then
I got
did
the
you get the second peel after hoop 1?
No,
or-
so that
okay.
would have been even easier. I
Yeah.
jawsed it.
Oh, well, that's good.
So, which was fine. So then I was able to put the Pioneer to 4. And then after 3, I pulled the ball out. I peeled 2 back and managed to get it in peeling position behind the 3 back
Well, that's
before
handy.
running 4. So
That's handy.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. So then it was just I managed to get that peel after 4, and then it's just a delayed TP.
Right.
But at that point,
Okay.
my nerves kicked in, and I was trembling like a leaf. I had a miss hit for before penalt, and I was approaching penalt from probably about 6 or 7 feet, and I ended up having about a 3 foot 15 degrees penalt. I've never taken so long on a hoop. Really.
Well done on getting a sextuple peel. It's a fabulous achievement.
Thank you very much.
I do remember a long time ago a chap, member at Cheltenham, called Phil Johnson, who once was the editor of the Croquet Gazette. Some of us stayed with him, and he told us how one time he had started a sextuple peel like that, and his first rush peeled 1 back and 2 back.
Ooh.
After hoop 1, he got a rush over to 3 back and peeled it through 3 back all the way down to 4 back before making hoop 2. And then he thought, oh my goodness, I've only got a standard TP to do to finish it. He did complete it.
Wow.
But he thought, I'll look a right idiot if I didn't now finish the sextuple. Anyway, game 2 has now started, and this is a slightly different opening we haven't seen much of, but it's one of Mark's favourite responses to the standard east boundary ball, and that's to put his ball just north of corner 4.
Okay.
Now I think partly this is a bit of a trap, because Gabrielle knows about this, so she's not fallen into the trap. The trap being, if black shoots at blue and misses,
There's a double.
no, but red then has a 13-yarder at yellow with 2 balls joined up 10 yards north.
Oh, yes, okay.
And you can just send the ball to hoop 2 and hopefully get a rush.
Sorry,
goal.
I thought you were talking about the long shot down to blue.
No.
The double.
So Gabrielle's response, she's not even attempted a roquet here. She's gone 3 feet or so north of...
And it's paid off.
And it's paid off.
Yeah. I noticed her first shot in the previous game. She didn't make the 6 inches off corner 2.
No, well...
And that nearly came to bite her.
Well, this area of ground from the end of B-bulk over to corner 2, don't know if you can see, but if you look at the red flag in corner 2 and compare it with the corner peg on the west boundary, you'll see it drops off. And this, we've noticed during the week, several people who've approached hoop 2 from say 6 or 7 feet or so, in sending the reception ball a bit deeper, that ball's just kept going, gone off the lawn. So there is a significant tail off.
So is that
to
why
the north?
When Gabrielle had her lift in the last game, she shot ending up in that corner because she felt it was a dicey corner.
Yeah,
it was a nice place to
possibly.
park.
Yeah, possibly. So Gabrielle's now got the innings, but she hasn't really got an easy break opportunity. Now, I'm not quite sure what she's doing here. Oh, okay.
Did she hit it? I can't quite see.
Right, okay.
I assume she was trying to get behind it to rush it up to blue, but
She was, but I think she also moved red
She did.
with black. No, she didn't. She actually rotated it. I don't think she was trying to do that. So what she could have done, I think there was a sort of promotion cannon available where you use yellow to knock red off the corner spot, send black over the corner spot just south of it by a foot, say.
Yeah.
Red then magically comes back
Of
onto the
course.
corner spot, and
Yeah.
you've got a rush to blue.
right.
But you mustn't send yellow off, because it's still a croquet stroke.
Of course.
Now,
So what does she do now?
Well, I think
She's going to try and make the hoop.
she may try and approach hoop 1, but I think her secondary focus will be getting blue.
You see, I'd say that's nowhere near long enough, but I'm
Well, it's
surprised
still
how
travelling.
much
I know, you look at these
speed
lawns
these
and you go, they're
lawns have.
nice and green, don't
Yeah.
you?
Why is it brown at this end? There's no tree overhead, and they're presumably watered very well.
Yeah, I don't know if they're watering routinely every day at night or something. The lawns are always dry in the morning, so it's possible they're not. This sort of brown area that in corner 2, Chris and I would just mention it in the commentary on game 1. It seems to be getting bigger.
Right.
So I'm going to guess that they're not actually watering routinely at the moment. Now that's,
A double or not? I can't see from here.
well, might be, I'm not sure. Hang on, I can actually nip out and have a look.
If it is, it's not a very big one.
Well, red could potentially nick black.
Okay.
So it is slightly more than a ball.
So his alternative is to run away to corner 3 or to shoot.
Well, if he doesn't,
shoots
if he wants to be defensive, he can go to corner 3. But the other thing to do is have it's
Yellow.
not exactly a free shot at yellow,
Yeah.
but the likelihood is that the only way to take advantage of red and yellow being joined up is to use it to get a rush to hoop 2, which is a long way away. Oh, he's only just missed that.
And yellow's not a corner ball, is it?
No.
I don't think red was. I think it just missed the corner 2.
Looks, yeah, that was close. Red was just out of a corner then, wasn't
Yeah.
it? So, I mean, Gabrielle has got an option here, if she's brave enough to play blue. And do a croquet stroke, a wide-angled split shot, sending black to 2, going to red and yellow. But she's
It's like she's
choosing.
going to rush blue up
I
here.
think she might be going to, but she has.
Yeah, well,
And
that's
you see,
bit
that's
unlucky.
the sort of.
Croquet strokes are a lot more.
Well,
You've got more
it's
control,
a
don't
big,
you?
it's a big croquet stroke and a wide-angled split. So you've got to be good at judging
So what
how
terrifies me
far
here,
the striker's ball goes.
No.
This.
I hate this because I never, moving blue in means I have much less control on the distance I put on black. Is that something that bothers you or not? Or
Well,
you just leave blue there?
She will exactly. She might leave blue there. I mean, I think Mark's pretty confident about his thick takeoff, so he would develop blue most of the way to the hoop.
She can also run up short, but she'd get a double of red and yellow.
That's right.
So that looks rather fast.
Oh,
That's far too fast.
so if it's on a good line, I think it's okay.
Okay. I haven't got the gist of these lawn speeds yet.
Were you worried about that going off?
I thought it was whizzing.
Yeah, I think she was slightly worried about it, but I think she's okay.
Does it get slower under the shade
She
by
is
hoop
okay.
lawn 1?
Sorry?
Does it get slower under the shade of the trees by hoop 1?
Well, yes and no. Historically, that corner can get very brown. I think you can just see there's a brown patch quite near the corner.
Yes.
Now, in years gone by, that has extended all the way to the hoop, and it's the effect of the trees sucking the moisture out of the ground.
Right. Okay, so she's done exactly what you suggested, and looks like she's got a nice setup.
Well, she's now got a rush to hoop 1, so
That's
and
pretty
blue
nice.
is a hoop 2 pioneer-ish, isn't it? Needs rushing.
Yeah.
Needs rushing. Now what do? Do you ignore yellow? I think you do.
I think I'd ignore yellow at this stage.
Well,
Try
it's
and-
hard work going to yellow, isn't it? Because even if you get there, you can't do much with red, and then you've just got
Yeah.
to come all the way back again.
Yeah, you're going to have to dig something out, so you might as well wait until you get to hoop 4, I imagine.
Now,
Whether she tried
in
to
the
push-
first game, she ran that very nicely, and she's given it a bit extra to make sure. So she hasn't got a rush on red. She would have probably wanted to rush red to sort of the middle of the
Sort of
west boundary,
where that
peg high.
peg is, yeah.
So this means red's further away from hoop
But
3.
there's a risk
and
of going off down here, because once it comes down here, it just keeps rolling.
It does. Now,
Well, it's-
she needs to get the line right on black, and she's got the
She's
line
got the
right
line.
on.
and the
Has she
length
got the
looks good,
distance?
doesn't it?
Well,
That is
red's
perfect.
travelling
Red's
again.
very far. She did that in the first break. I think it's in, but it's going to be tough to dig out.
Yeah.
Mark seemed in the previous game to quite get the speed of the lawn pretty well by about hoop forward, didn't he?
Yes, at this equivalent stage in his first break, he had a ball at hoop 3, and he just needed to make hoop 2, and then he got the break. This will need a bit more work. In fact, he'll need a lot more work.
And will she put blue
Now
as good a pioneer as she can to hoop 4?
I think.
Does that leave it close to yellow
I think
in
she needs
case?
to rush on red, so.
Okay.
We'll have to see, but I think she might be rushing blue to red.
So then the tricky shot will be coming out of corner 4 for forward. She's just putting off the problem, isn't she?
Yeah, she's thinking about it. This is a very good illustration of how important it is to keep the prospective pioneers inside the rectangle of the hoops.
Yes.
I think if Red's gone probably 5 yards too far, or 6 even, if it was 5 or 6 yards short, she'd actually be in a lot better shape.
It's just out.
Yeah, so we can see, unfortunately for Gabrielle, she's,
Do you think
because she needed to get behind Red, and she's just gone over the boundary line, and that's the end of her turn.
when she played to put the pioneer at hoop 3, do you think she was planning to keep it inside the box or just try to put it in front of the hoop?
I suspect she was trying to put it just at the hoop,
It's good.
and it's
Pioneer
gone
as
too far.
possible.
She made a similar mistake in the first game, but it wasn't quite as near the boundary in game 1.
Yeah.
And yellow, the equivalent yellow was sort of 10 yards up from corner 4, just off the boundary, so it was a bit easier. Now Mark's immediately,
Getting his
he's
rush
got a
to
rush
yellow.
on blue. Is he rushing this to 1 or to yellow?
Yellow.
No, he's taking it to 1, okay.
Would that be your choice?
Well, this is obviously where it was pointing, because he
Yeah.
hit that pretty straight, didn't he? And that's a fantastic
That's
result.
beautiful. Oh.
And again, I don't think he'll look at yellow. So he'll be wanting a rush.
And for
Up
him
the
it's
lawn.
better because black is on the 3 side of 2, so it'll be easy for him to put a good pioneer at 3 with a rush back to 2.
If he gets a forward rush out of this hoop, which you'd expect him to, wouldn't you? He's put blue,
But
giving
even
himself
if he
plenty of
didn't,
room.
just the roll up would be easier that way, I think. But tempted to go to yellow. Yes, I've been watching and following you on YouTube, and I couldn't work out. There was a strange chime sound in the background. For days I've been pondering what it was, and I was sitting here this morning when it was such a breeze, and I realised it was the lanyards from all the flags.
Oh yes.
They sound like a little
yes.
series of bells. In the
That's right. Yes.
So, definitely.
Just to answer, we've got a question from Neil here. This match is best of 5, and now Nathaniel, Andrew Johnston's match against Matthew Esk is down on lawn 1, which is the furthest away from our commentary position.
Who's Robert playing on the next lawn?
He's playing Gavin Carter.
Okay.
So what I'll do is just briefly leave the commentary box and leave the microphone in your capable hands, and just have a wander down and check on the clip positions in the other games.
Okay, brilliant. So Mark's really looking in control here now. And going back to his previous comment about having your pioneer inside the box, here with blue just inside from hoop 3, this is such an easier shot to make and having to go the other side. But he's chosen to go the other side. I know, he's just tickled it. Mark's really hit his stride now, hasn't he? These hoops are very short. He's not having to do anything scary. I guess, will he roll to yellow now or black? I need Keith to advise me. I'd go to black. I'd be a bit scared of going to yellow. Yep. I was just pondering whether he'd go to yellow first, but it's a bit of a scary shot, isn't it, to roll from there?
Right, yeah, so he will want to get yellow though, won't he?
He will. So he didn't manage to get a good forward rush out of 3. He hit his pioneer on the way over there. So he had to do a reverse takeoff, which would have made life a lot easier.
Well, I've been down and had a look at the other 3 lawns. To answer your question, Nathaniel, I arrived just as Matthew Essick was pegging out to win the first game against Andrew Johnston. And then in the other matches, Jose Riva is 1-0 up against Zach Watson, and was in the middle of his first break in game 2. And Robert Fletcher is 1-0 up against Gavin Carter, and is also having the first break in game 2.
Okay, so the Americans are probably upset that there's an American against American match. Was there?
No,
Did you say there was? Who's Matthew playing? Or was that yesterday?
Andrew Johnston.
Oh, okay.
From Ireland.
Okay.
And Zach Watson, the second-ranked American, is playing Jose Riva.
Jose, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday there was a match between Stephen Morgan and Ben Rothman.
That's the one. I'm
Yeah.
confused. Yeah. Did that go to form? I was surprised Ben. I saw him play the other day. And looked
Well,
good. He was playing
He
well.
went to 3 games, and Stephen Morgan won. And Stephen Morgan, I saw him early on in the tournament. He seemed to be in very good form.
Yeah. I had Simon Jenkins staying with me last week.
Right.
And so he's an Englishman who lived in America, and he said the Americans now, a lot of these are professional players they teach, so their standard is just increased massively.
Yeah, a lot
And
of their players are professionals in the sense of being teaching professionals.
Yes.
Yeah.
But he said that they just have so much lawn time. They're basically on the lawn all day, every day.
Right.
So when they're not teaching, they're just practicing. And he feels it's going to really push up their chances going. So a nice reverse back to a nice rush back to corner 4 to pick up black. That's where you desperately don't want to knock the black on the way through, isn't it?
That's right.
It's really
yes.
painful when that happens. So it's with bitter experience. You sometimes have games like that though, don't you, where if there's anything to hit on the lawn, you manage to do it. I'd be interested to hear what you guys said about in the last game when Mark was going for his rover peel on the way to 3-back.
Yes.
I stood behind him and he lined it up a good ball and a half to the west of rover, and then
it still
he
only
went back.
flicked.
No, then he went back and lined it up directly in line with.
Oh, really?
And I don't understand, because I
That's
think it
interesting.
probably would have gone through with his original.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, certainly Jaws. I'm not sure why he changed that.
Interesting.
Maybe he changed. Again, he's never running hoops from more than a foot away. Gives him total control. Keith, is it obligatory to have your ball as a pioneer for 2-back?
Well, you do see people put partner ball to 2-back a lot,
Yeah.
don't you? And one of the massive advantages of doing that is it's not the pioneer at 3-back.
Yes. Mind you, if you're making
because you
NSL, does it matter so much?
Well, usually you don't want to be making the final hoop of your turn off partner. You normally want to have positioned the two opponent balls where you want to leave them, and then make the last roquet on partner, rushing it away to wherever you're going to lay up.
Because then if you don't put it in a nice wiring position, you can, with the hoop, whatever, you can escape and do something a bit safer.
Yeah.
Mark's always doing NSLs.
Well, sometimes he does an MSL,
Okay.
but equally I wouldn't be surprised to see him do a diagonal spread.
The NSL just makes triple much easier, doesn't it? Assuming you can. I can't do them because I can't make one of them.
Yeah. Well,
Which is kind of
the normal.
Unless-
Yeah, if you get left with what we call the big shot out of corner 4, sending a ball to 2, rushing the ball at hoop 4 to hoop 1, it's something you certainly need to know that you can do. I'd avoid the NSL or MSL for that reason, though. I don't trust myself to be able to get a rush, or having got something that, if I go wide enough to make sure I've got some sort of rush, then I don't think I'm good enough at actually playing the rush.
Yeah, same here. And it's very stressful getting that first ball going, isn't it? So, and you're doing it off opponent as well. No, you're doing it off. No, you're not. You're doing it off yours. So, it's not so bad. No, you are doing it off opponent. I'm talking rubbish here, Heath. It's just not enough coffee this morning, obviously.
Yeah, what do we think he's doing here? Where's Blue going? Oh, okay.
So-
Well, it's looking like
Yellow's his reception ball.
it's looking like another NSL, but he's sort
Okay.
of putting blue there, and he's probably not going back to it. Do we think?
I don't have a clear idea.
So I think blue's now settled. Do we like it there? I think it's quite a long way.
I
off the
lost
west
focus on
boundary.
what he was doing, and now I'm a bit.
Well, he's for 2-back, so he's got
Yeah.
to make 2-back, and then black's his 3-back pioneer. So I think he'll be rushing over to black and making an NSL.
NSL, yeah.
I think blue should be closer to the west boundary if you're going to do this.
It's very short, isn't it?
Well,
Was
I
that
mean,
14 yards?
And he may come back to it. In the last game, he got in a sort of similar position, and he attempted to come back. He was red in that case, if you
Yeah.
remember, and red was sort of between 1 and 2, and he rushed, having put the oppo ball on hampered at hoop 4.
Yes.
He rushed partner to the boundary, and he took off, and I think he was intending to rush red to the west boundary, but got level with it. No, actually, I think he actually rotated it on the takeoff.
With the idea to put
But
black in position now. The problem with that, I suppose, is if you undershoot, you can't rectify it. Whereas if you get a rush at this point, don't you, back?
yeah, he's probably looking to see whether black is good enough where it is. One of the annoying things with trying to do this is you get it in a reasonably good position, and then you just hit the hoop shot a bit too hard. I feel you must rotate it out of position, and then fail to put it back in position.
Yeah.
So I think he was just checking to see whether he needed to bother
Yeah.
rotating black again. I think he's decided he doesn't.
And if he can then go over 90 yards.
Is he going to clean up blue, or is he happy with it where it is? I think he's happy with it where he is.
Where would your ideal place for blue be?
Well, just
Not on the boundary.
no. Well, that's the most defensive thing, isn't
Yeah.
it? And I think he's good enough to have it on the boundary. So if black, say, lifted and took the long shot down to corner 4, he could then rush over maybe a yard or 2 south of blue and get partner to 2 and get a rush to 1 on blue, even if blue was on the boundary.
So
And of course, being on the boundary would be more defensive.
my bet would be, given what she did last game, that Gabrielle will take the shot into corner 2 again.
Yeah, it's a bit longer this time.
Okay.
Last time the ball was sort of between 1 and 2 and maybe peg high, maybe a bit north.
Do you ever fancy the shot across to black with the chance of a double as a ricochet off the hoop?
Yes, that's playable. Yeah,
It's looking a little bit too far for that.
it's looking quite long.
Yeah.
I mean, the standard sort of defensive shot is to play black and play black and shoot from corner 3
Yeah.
down through yellow. And she does want to play black.
And that just makes it harder to pick up the TP. It then becomes
almost yes, it was almost
delayed.
certain to become a delayed TP in
Yeah.
that case.
So why do people bother to pick up blue then?
Say again, sorry.
Why do people bother? Quite often people
Well,
pick up
sometimes
blue.
if black might be for 4-back,
Okay,
and
yeah,
blue
of
for
course,
white,
yeah,
so-
of course.
you naturally want to play blue.
So it's a
Because a
polarity.
hit, you might win in that turn. So this time she is taking the long shot. I think there's always a good argument for taking the shorter shot available when you're playing people that are
They're going to
this
get
good.
going anyway, aren't
They're
they?
going to get going anyway, and
And it's quite different. What's that, about
Potentially.
24 yards or something?
yeah.
And
whereas the shot at blue
The
from
other
B
ones.
bulk is much shorter.
Yeah. And I think she could back herself to make that shot from a ball.
Yeah, this is the problem for people who cast, isn't it? You've got to feel like the casting's working.
Yeah, I suppose it tells you, doesn't it? You can see that you're going to make the shot or not. I sometimes find I'm a very inaccurate hitter, and I cast, and sometimes the cast isn't right, so I think I'll just slightly aim.
Oh, well, she's hit
So
red.
she was aiming for red, I guess. That's strange. Does
Well,
she not
that-
trust the boundary?
well, she's definitely hit red.
You don't think she was
I
aiming?
don't know. I don't know.
I could only
mean,
think she wasn't aiming
it's-
for
it's
yellow.
a-
She didn't trust
well,
the
it's an
boundary.
interesting choice, isn't it? Because having hit red, there's much less room behind yellow than there would have been had she hit yellow and had
Yeah.
to try and get to red.
And also, she hit it on the unfortunate side. So, if she'd hit
Well,
on the other side, it could have gone to the boundary.
She's got a pioneer at 4, so if this does work, she gets this absolutely spot on, she will get a rush to 3. The natural thing here is to be a bit tentative. Oh my word, I
Oh,
think she
wow.
might have
She's
a
got
rush,
a rush to blue.
possibly got a rush to blue.
Yeah,
She's actually got a rush at, yeah,
yeah, she should be happy with that.
she's now got the choice. Do I try and rush it to the hoop or do I go to blue?
But it's not a very nice rush to her hoop. So
It isn't,
I'd definitely
no.
get
I
to
think
blue.
she's looking at blue, I think.
Yeah. Bad.
Oh,
It
that's
doesn't
pretty
hit
good.
blue on the way.
Well, I think that's pretty well.
That's fine.
It's tickled blue, but that's actually quite nice. And it's nice because the croquet stroke on yellow, she'll be coming basically down the rush line to hoop 3.
Yeah,
And that's
just not overhit it was the key.
so I think she'll develop yellow into the break.
Where will she put yellow? Sort of halfway between.
Well, just a pivot, sort of
pegs.
between the peg
Between
and
her
6.
and-
Do you
yeah.
think? She doesn't want to. She's
The priority obviously is black behind blue, so
Oh no,
yellow. As long as
where's
you-
this go?
She's putting yellow something totally different.
Oh, I'm not sure about this. Has she forgotten which hoop she saw? No, surely not. No, she hasn't.
So
Well, I'm
why did
surprised.
she put yellow
I
there?
have no idea.
Just to be absolutely certain about.
Well, I think possibly to
She
play a
wasn't.
straight
She wasn't
croquet stroke.
split. She
Yeah,
wasn't
no
just-
split, but that looks pretty good. Is it north or south of the hoop? Well, slightly on the south side and a bit short, but
And she won't try anything fancy like a
No, this will be a
TPO.
No.
It's too late now and it's too delayed.
it would be a delayed TPO.
Which is
no,
very
it's-
risky.
Yeah, it's
She wants to go warmed up, doesn't she? It's best of 5. So
yeah.
she's-
Just get a ball to 4 back.
Yeah.
Get back in the match. Now I can see she does a mixture of, well, sort of full casting, where you actually, the final cast becomes the start of your final swing into the ball. Whereas on that hoop shot, she
Yeah.
did a bit of casting to line up and then placed the mallet behind the ball on the ground and started her backswing from what we call a standing start.
Yes, I was looking at her just last shot, and you have no idea until she makes a shot if it's her last cast or not. But obviously the hoop shot, as you say, is different.
Now what's she doing here? Can't quite. She's doing. She's not here.
She's leaving blue behind, I think.
I think she ought to be doing something with blue, personally.
Oh, she's changed her. Yes, she
Okay.
is.
Now she's done a bit with blue, and pretty good. I think that's pretty good.
That's nice, isn't it?
It's maybe travelled a couple of feet too far, but this can be rushed
She
to
wants
the
to put this into
east
the corner.
boundary. Well, just somewhere on the east boundary, peg high or something.
Well, red is behind 4, so it'd be nice to go
only
a bit
just
south.
there. I think that's absolutely fine. One at this
Hoop
stage,
6 was a bit
well,
close.
it was, wasn't it? Yeah. Rushing into the jaws of Penal would have been bad there, but
Yeah.
you'd be pretty hard done by that.
I think you'd feel cheated. Mind you, it would be left near blue, so having two balls close together.
Well, if you're actually in the hoop, how do you get to red?
over, yeah, that wouldn't be so good. Okay, that would be catastrophic.
Yeah, well, you see here, it's one of those where I'd be thinking, right, come on, one good croquet stroke, I've got this break.
Yes.
And
And
it's
blues.
both balls you want to be good here.
That's fast, isn't it? That yellow?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she's got to weaken herself. She's hitting it slightly too hard. Ideally you want a nice little rush back to blue after this shot. Or would you forget about blue and just get a rush to the south boundary so that you can pick up yellow and bring everything tidy up?
She won't get a rush to the south boundary. I mean, she may get a rush to the north boundary now,
Yeah.
which is fine. It's, go and get blue. Oh, where's this going?
Well, that red looks
Red
like
moved.
it's hittable.
Red moved quite a long way then.
She's definitely miss it.
Is she getting a hoop and okay out of this?
Can't quite tell from here. Oh, perfect.
No.
She can-
So she has got a rush north, and this will be coming presumably to the north boundary. I think. Yes.
Yeah, into the corner, get behind blue. I think she'll want to rush blue down to close to yellow.
Oh,
won't she?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is she one of these who puts her yellow at hoop 2 after 5? Hoop 2 back after 5?
If she is, it'll be blue.
Oh, sorry, she's
Partner ball.
partner, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. But
That's
yes,
right.
I
got
think
switched
she
round,
will. I think she will. Yeah.
Yeah. Most people seem to do that, don't they? Good, that's her first.
Now,
pioneer.
if we'll see her through hoop 5, and then I think I might do another wander down to check on the other games. Whereas apparently on croquet scores, James Death is keeping everyone updated on 3 of the matches at Roehampton.
Okay, and what's happening there?
Well, I haven't got
I've got
croquet
croquet
scores
scores, I'll have a
open.
look.
I mean,
And are there games being played on the cricket pitches today? Yeah.
not main event games.
No.
No. Some of the well, I'm not sure if it's plate or bowl. Might be bowl. They're using 2 of the cricket pitch lawns, and the other 2 lawns 5 and 6.
Okay. So, championship knockout, James.
So James, I know the setup at Roehampton is that they have 3 croquet lawns in a row in front of their croquet pavilion.
Mm-hmm.
But we also have a 4th lawn known as the Rose Garden.
Oh, that's the pretty one.
The
Isn't
pretty
it?
one, yes.
Yes.
But you can't actually see the 3 croquet lawns
Okay.
from there, or see the Rose
It's like being
Garden
sent
lawn
to
from
Coventry.
there. Well, kind of, but it's quite a nice place to go. But I think James is playing on the first 3 lawns, one of those, so he's keeping people updated via the commentary.
Now,
That's
she
what
was
it's- right.
intense there,
Well,
Gabrielle, because this is the hoop she failed in the previous
yeah,
game.
maybe. It's one of those things. Everyone's human, and it's hard to just sort of blank out
Yeah.
that. The last time you were there, you were right in front of it and stuck in it.
And that was angled, so she was definitely not going to hit it
Well, she
softly.
gave it a bit extra.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm going to
Okay.
take the chance just to wander down.
So she want to keep this
I'll
in the
be
box,
back
doesn't
shortly.
she? That looks a bit...
Well, I'm expecting
No, that's perfect.
I'm going to stick my neck out to Tudor and
Yeah.
say she will make a diagonal spread. Let's see if I'm right, shall we?
Okay. I shall...
But having
Hedging your
said
bets
that,
now, Keith.
well, the thing about the diagonal spread is there's no sort of sense of
Is there a parity?
parity in the opponent balls.
No.
Whichever one you put at the peg,
Yeah,
Mark is going to lift the hoop one ball yellow.
of course.
So if you want to take advantage of the parity, then you make something like a new standard leave
Yeah.
or a Morm standard leave, and you put the fullback ball red, the ball at hoop 4.
We'll know after this shot, won't we? Because she puts this as close to the peg as possible after...
Well, she might do, yeah. And I try and do that.
Yeah.
But,
I tend to put it, and depending where it is, I don't swap them around, or...
oops.
Oh,
Has
well,
that gone
she may
down
not
the
be
hill?
making any
There's
lead.
a slight hill there, and it looks like
I've heard about your
she's
hill,
found
you
it.
talked about that a bit. Do you think any of these players have taken the time to listen to... There's a lot of
I think
transmission.
I think some people have.
Yeah.
Yeah, this looks bad.
But this has caught out everyone almost. Not everyone, but a lot of players.
Right. Well,
And it's a dilemma.
I've jinxed her slightly, but I'm now going to go and have a quick
Okay.
look at the other games.
I'll talk about the dilemma. If there's a chance of running it, does she take that chance against the idea that if she doesn't, it will almost, wherever she goes, it will almost certainly be a go around Mark. He's obviously looking to do a TP, so if she can choose somewhere to go that makes that slightly harder, she'll take that. Oh, this is really unlucky. Couldn't possibly make it into the corner. The hoop would have hampered her backswing. Gabrielle will be really disappointed with that. And made Mark feel really confident now. Such great. So I guess he'll go down to black to send that as his hoop 2 pioneer. Was going to blue at hoop 1, and with red over on the east boundary, maybe he'll bring it in a bit. It makes his triple quite easy to get going. Yeah, the big shot now is this one. If he can get a good, it's great. He needs to get a good pioneer on hoop 2. And just run north of the blue ball at hoop 1. Okay, black's a little short, but more importantly, can yellow see blue? Has he cross-wired himself? No. That would have been a tragic end if he had. Wow, didn't expect that, so maybe he had cross-wired himself and just see a bit of blue. So Gabrielle's going to have to start with her backward ball, which is less appealing. She's going to have to play blue, which means that she can't finish in 2 turns now, which is obviously the better option. I assume she's going to rush yellow down to black, put it as a pioneer, and then rush black to 1. And the way it's set up, she has a nice option to try a TPO on Mark, as Mark's done the hard work of setting it all up easily. So not too hard here, Gabrielle. Spot on. Lovely. Maybe a little short. Can't see it from here, but I think she's short of hit 1. So reverse, yes. Take off, and I think. Okay, so the question is whether she'll pay for a rush to red. There was quite a few things happened.
Right.
It was very dramatic.
I'm back, but I can sense that there's been some drama.
So very much so. So Mark got in, as you can guess from that situation. Gabrielle had gone down to corner 4. Then Mark took off to corner 4 and then did the big split to hoop 2 and hoop 1 and managed to crossfire himself, but not fully at hoop 1. So he took a shot at the ball. He must have been able to see some of it and hit the wire and sat there for Gabrielle. So
that's why she's in with her hoop 1 ball.
And the question now is whether he did the hard work to set up the TP. He got red in place, so whether she'll take advantage of that now to TPO him.
Well, what would you do?
Yeah, the reason why I do it is because it would give me focus and make me switch on.
Okay.
I think sometimes, she's made 2 mistakes.
Well, I don't think red's going to hoop 3 now.
No, it's not, is it? Okay.
So I've been down to the other lawns, and it's not a day for the underdogs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the top seeds are progressing in game 2. Matthew seems to be on a standard TP, as was Jose.
This is the second game.
In game 2,
yeah.
And they're both a game up.
So in the last World Championships, which was in Australia, Matthew was the underdog, wasn't he? And got all the way through to the finals.
That's right.
Yeah.
And had a ding-dong battle with Reg.
Well, I don't remember the final. Was it close? Did it get to 5?
I'm trying to remember if it was 4 or 5, but I think Matthew got at least one game.
So
we could look that up. Robert Fletcher's a little bit behind them, but I think he's starting a delayed TP in game 2, but so far he's got no peels. Now we'll find out very soon if Gabrielle's got any design on a TPO.
Yeah,
She's definitely played it to get a rush on red to black.
I don't like a pioneer for 4.
No, well,
that would put me off a bit doing this.
It is inside the rectangle though.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, she's I'm pretty confident that that's what she's playing for.
Well,
she's got to get behind black.
It's not in a good place.
It's not
now.
in a good place at all, is it?
No, this is going as a pivot.
Yeah, no, she's sending that away, isn't she? Take temptation out of your way. I know. What's she doing?
I think she's just looking to see where she needs to go to get a rush on black.
Yeah. Yeah, so push it away, have no temptation.
Yeah, so just a further update on the other lawns. I've just seen Jose Riva put all the clips on hoop 1, so that means he's now 2-0 up. Against
Is he playing very well?
Zach
and what have you seen of him?
Well, we did broadcast a game of his from the block stage,
Right.
and he got beaten by Mark Van Loon. But there was some interaction. Jose tried a sextuple, which broke down at penult.
Okay.
And then a bit later he got to rover and broke down there.
So he's basically never had a single ball out kind of strategy. Would you have not been tempted by the TPO at this stage?
Well, I'm sorry to say I probably would have been tempted. Whether it's a good idea or not is another matter, but I wouldn't have been tempted by pegging 2 balls out at the end of it, though.
That seems to be the fashion these days.
Well, it is, but her partner ball's only on hoop 6.
Yeah.
And although you might think, well, that's a 5-hoop lead, which is pretty good, when you actually play one of these 2-ball endings, it's very easy to find that you as the ball that's ahead gets a bit scared of going to your hoop.
So do you think,
in case the opponent hits and starts a 2-ball break.
I watched that game that you commentated on yesterday with Reg, and I wonder whether, so he was obviously super cautious, and he never put any pressure, I felt, on. The only pressure was the very final shot that so Aston he was playing? Oh,
yes, Aston.
The only shot where Aston really had pressure was that final shot which he missed. Not the only shot, but I think that was the biggest pressure shot. I mean, he got the amazing rover, and so I wonder whether by not asserting any pressure it made it easier for Aston to really. It's hard, isn't it? Because you can give the game away if you've got to control your wrist, don't you?
You've got to get the balance right between being sort of sensibly cautious and being sensibly aggressive, because you've got to make your hoops, so you can't just completely go defensive, and because otherwise it's very easy for the ball that's behind to catch up.
Yeah, there are very few moments in the game where you've got safety, where they're going away from you.
That's right.
Someone told me, I can't believe it's true, but maybe you'll correct me, that last night a game Mulliner was playing, I can't remember, American, and
Tom Balding,
and he pegged them both out for sort of like 1 and 2.
Well,
is that right or not?
Well, okay, the version I've heard is that Tom Balding was 2 and peg, having done a TPO.
Yeah.
Stephen Mulliner was for hoop 1, and a little bit later,
it's very ballsy.
Tom deliberately pegged out his peg ball.
Okay, later though, not at that point.
That was when he pegged out, he was for 2 and Stephen was for 1.
That's interesting, isn't it? He obviously backed himself.
And Stephen duly took over the lead. But it's a little bit, I don't know if you watch the Tour de France cycling, but it's a little bit, a 2-ball game can be a little bit like that, a sprint finish there. You've got to time your push to the front.
I always like to be behind in a 2-ball game. I never like to be in front.
Not too far behind.
No.
but you can be a couple of hoops behind as you come up to the finish, and you're still well in the game.
I had a great game here last year where there was a 2-ball tournament, and it was on time, and I was for 1 and my opponent was for 2.
Right.
You wonder why. Well, it was the 3rd game and we'd used up all the time in previous games, and I just sat there and deemed that there was nothing he could do. He was he basically ended up having to come back to the south boundary and try and shoot across at me, but he was stuck really.
I know, man. This is the 3rd time we've seen her have a go.
Yeah.
But
she's right in front of that, isn't
yeah,
she?
this time she's fine.
Yeah, that's great.
Right, again,
She's
this is a very nice controlled looking position now, isn't it?
Each time it's 1 hoop more, so let's hope she gets beyond 1 back this time.
Well, yeah, well, she'll be wanting to go a bit further than 1 back, won't she?
Here's a question. Do you like to put yellow to the east of red to approach, or do you like it with a split here?
Okay, well, let's get super picky, shall we? I like red,
this side.
maybe a couple of feet west of where it is now.
Yes.
So it's all about making these sort of croquet shots a little bit shorter.
Everything shorter and going along rush lines.
And hopefully more accurate. So, for example, when she was putting black to 2 backs, obviously she had yellow on the west side. That means you can play that croquet shot from the west side of the centre line. If I'm going to be super picky about black, I'll say black's probably 2 feet too far west.
Okay.
Because at some point it's possible that she will be sending a ball to 3 back from north and west of black, and if black's another couple of feet east of where it is now, it's a shorter shot.
And yellow, do you like it there, or do you like it level with the hoop? Or not?
I quite like it level with the hoop.
Yeah.
Again, at this stage we don't know what leaf she's going for.
She's got a rush. She's got choices.
Right. Now, when I make a diagonal spread, this is the sort of position I like to be in. So I'm trying to get red.
And this is why I like yellow level with a hoop here. If I'm making it,
whatever suits your croquet shot, isn't it? Really. But I'm trying to get red, almost all the way to the peg.
Try and put it in position. Why not?
Well. Yeah, if it happens to go in position, great. Yeah. But I'd rather it was a couple of yards north than a couple of yards south. The thing is, you don't actually know for certain at the moment that you're going to get a rush out of 1 back. You're kind of backing yourself to do that, though.
I saw something interesting yesterday. I put a comment on when watching it, where Reg, when he did his 5, put a pivot at the peg and his peeling ball at penult, so that meant he didn't have to come through hoop 5 with a forward rush, which you normally do in that situation.
Right.
Which I quite like, because I quite often sort of mess up on hoop 5 trying to get that forward rush.
Well, she rushed yellow in a position where she couldn't send it to a position where she could then get a rush on yellow towards red. Now, it may be that, you see, with black on hoop 6, if you make a diagonal spread, you would sort of say there's pressure on to, especially if yellow goes deeper to the west boundary, you could say there's pressure on to lift red, don't you think? If red's near the peg. What I'm thinking
So explain
is
that again to me.
Well,
So
if you
black-
make a diagonal spread with red at the peg, that's quite a good hoop 6 pioneer.
Yes.
And if at the same time you got yellow quite deep to the west boundary, arguably if Mark's thinking slightly defensively, he's kind of being induced to lift red rather than yellow. I don't think he'll pay any attention to that, to be honest. I think he'll just think, I'm playing yellow.
Yeah.
Yellow's my
I'm
hoop
going
one
to
ball.
win with yellow.
Yeah, I'm going to hit him and win.
I think when you're playing well and you have expectations of going far, you have to play to win, don't you?
Of course, I mean, he's just biding his time, waiting for his go as far as he's concerned, and all of this is just, wasting time.
I never quite know what to do when sitting out, whether I should watch the game or try and read something.
Some people watch and some people don't they? But if you're not watching, and the opponent makes an error, as in a turn-ending error, like people do play the wrong ball or they go to the wrong hoop, or they very occasionally they might make a fourth roquet between hoops. I've seen that happen. And if you're not watching, you don't notice.
It goes, doesn't it? But I suppose that's that trade-off between the very occasional time that happens against your peace of mind and many other games where it doesn't happen. So she'll roll over and tidy up red. It definitely looks like a diagonal spread, doesn't it?
It's looking very much like a diagonal spread, so she's rolling black to the east of the peg here. So that after 3 back, she's obviously going to roquet yellow first, then red, and then finally partner ball, rushing it to the boundary. Now, clearly that red is not in its final position, so it's going to need a further adjustment.
Sometimes I think when it's really close, it's tricky because you're going to rush it out of position.
Yeah, I mean, she'll be wanting to get a rush out of 3 back near a red, won't she?
It looks like
how's that?
The Y maybe in a way.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
As long as she doesn't collide it into the back of the hoop mat, she shouldn't do.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? It's like, it's so missable, but it's just there in your mind that it's the one thing you should do.
A sports psychologist, Tudor, would say that you shouldn't be thinking like that. If you're thinking, don't rush it into the hoop, that's often the one thing you do.
Okay, and this guarantees a nice rush out. Okay, this is a good solution. As long as she doesn't bounce back.
Well, that's pretty good. She's got a clear sight of the landing area for yellow.
Yeah. And how close to the boundary? I suppose it depends how confident you are that you don't push it out.
It is. I mean, you don't.
Doesn't really matter.
You mustn't
much.
send this off, obviously.
3 yards short.
It's partly. I mean, I'm saying that's pretty good because
That's not bad,
blue's
is that?
good.
I'd be happy.
Blue's
I'd be
good.
delighted with that.
Yeah, yellow is far enough away that, well, it's really irrelevant because, as we keep saying, Mark's going to play yellow.
He's going to lift it.
And as long as she gets this cross-pegged, from red and yellow cross-pegged, it's pretty irrelevant where yellow is. And the interesting bit of psychology would be to leave yellow clearly the shortest shot, say from B-ball, but obviously you'd have to use red to take it. Say you left an 11-yarder, red on yellow,
dilemma,
but you don't want to play red, you want to play yellow, and then it's sort of should I take the shortest shot or should I play yellow anyway? And of course, if
You're a
you lift
tease.
yellow and play it, you're thinking, or you shouldn't be thinking, but you might be thinking, I'm taking this 20 yarder
Is it the
having
right
passed
one?
up an 11 yarder.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So she's not in a 19-yard position, but she's assuming you'll go down the B ball, so make it slightly longer.
Well, if you've got red tight enough to the peg, you've got more choice about where to lay up, haven't you? Because
Yes,
you're
of course.
guarding against.
So
you've
she
got
has
to guard against red shooting at you from there, but
And it's far enough away that she has to be pretty well in the line of the peg and the red.
yeah.
I see.
I like to make sure that I haven't got the peg in the way of the rush to yellow. But again, it's irrelevant because Mark is going to lift yellow.
Yeah.
He's not even looking at anything else.
Yeah.
Well, he's just checking that
And it's quite a big
right,
target, the rush to yellow, because you're just basically going out somewhere behind it, aren't you? So,
Well,
ish.
again, it's
The closer
irrelevant
the
because
better.
yellow's
Yeah, of
moving.
course. And
Well,
he's
that'll come
taking
what
the
may.
short one. He's like, I'm going to hit this, so make it as easy for me as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not taken. You don't want any doubts, do you? So
And that's what, about
he's-
4
he's
yards.
he's probably been thinking this for the last 2 or 3 minutes. I'm shooting
Yeah.
at black, maybe blue. Actually, I don't know.
Why?
I've always tended to shoot at the boundary ball.
I
even
can't
though it might
imagine
be
why
half-
you'd shoot at blue.
Well, it might be slightly closer.
I think it's so
Well,
marginal.
this game's going
Yeah.
on. This game's going on. So
So this should
I
be a
think
finishing turn. Oh no, hang on, it's yellow, isn't it? Yeah. You don't think she's...
I don't think Gabrielle
Going
will be
to.
thinking about trying to do
No.
a triple peel from 6.
Oh, 6, of course,
Yeah, that's the problem.
Of course.
And that's why you don't want to get one ball through too many hoops.
Of course.
Yeah, without going to 4-back.
And that was her dilemma of having to pick up the blue, rather of having to play when you were away, and she ended up having to play with the blue.
Yeah, I'm sure she would
Rather
have
than-
loved to play black.
Yeah, but she had a 2-3 foot shot as opposed to
Yeah,
a
sure.
14-yard shot.
I often reckon it in terms of realistically, how many turns am I away from finishing? And if
Yeah.
she could have played black and got black from 6 to 4-back, potentially she's 1 turn away from finishing
Yes.
by doing a triple
Yeah.
peel. By having to play blue, she starts the turn 2 turns away from finishing, and she's still 2 turns away from finishing.
Yes.
But at
yeah.
least Mark has kindly missed the lift, so well, she rushed blue far too far, didn't she? She rushed it too close
Yes.
to red.
As you say, it's in the box. It's
Well, it is in the rectangle.
the rectangle. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a bit too far away from the corner of the rectangle now. Anyway, it is what it is, and well, she's very nervous about that hoop approach, because if you approach that hoop from the west, it does hill from west to east. She's done well there. Got to rush back to blue.
So do you think she's adjusting her shots now to accommodate? Is it worse on this side of the hoop or the other side, or is it totally?
Well, the
same?
penalty side,
Yeah.
well, you see, even that,
You can see it
just
move.
before she picked black up, then it rolled
Yeah.
west to east. I think it's worse on the penalty side, actually. But I've said it before in commentary. These hills we talk about, they're quite subtle, and normally, and when I say normally, I mean
Yeah.
almost every year I've ever been to Hurlingham before this one, you do notice they're there, but they're not as noticeable as they are this year, and that's because the ground staff have done a fantastic job getting fast lawns.
Fast lawns.
Yeah.
So you hit softer, so the variances in the lawn affect your ball more.
Yeah.
What I noticed, so at Southwick where I play, the grass is much longer, positively lush. But so what makes a massive difference is whether you're playing down a silver line or the darker line, so playing in the direction. And you have small bits of, because they diagonally cut this, you get small bits of silver and small bits of grass. I wonder whether there's a silver patch in front of Penult going across that way.
I'm not sure.
Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but I don't think there's really all that much of a nap.
Yeah, it's kind of like a chessboard nap here, isn't it? More than strong
I mean, you do
swells.
see some croquet lawns that are mown with stripes, and you actually get a fishtail effect. Have you ever seen that? As the
No.
balls? Oh yeah, it's quite amazing. If you're going across the stripes, if the nap is right to left, the ball goes right to left, and when it hits a bit that's mown left to right,
Oh, wow.
it comes back again.
I should watch out for
But
that.
you don't get that on here.
Yeah.
This is mown so short that you
Doesn't
don't get that
affect
effect.
swing.
No.
That's okay. It's behind.
It's
Nice.
okay.
I
It's
prefer
okay.
it closer.
Yeah, it's gone outside the rectangle. But I expect she's ignored yellow since she made 6, but I think after 2 back she'll be going and getting yellow. So I'm expecting her to rush to the east boundary south of yellow and put red to 4 back and go and get a rush on yellow down to the south boundary.
Yeah.
Just to
To
tidy
get
up.
behind.
Get behind
blue.
blue. Yeah. Right, so meanwhile, I can see lawns 1 and 2 are completely clear of players.
So that's lunch.
So that'll be lunch. And just to recap, Matthew Essick is 2-0 up on Andrew Johnston, and Jose Riva is 2-0 up on Zach Watson. And on lawn 3, I think Robert Fletcher looks like he's lining up a rush to the peg, and our old friend from the other day, the what I called the fat squirrel, has turned up at the north end.
Causing much disruption.
Yeah, he fancies a little outing on lawn 4.
I can't imagine he digs many holes on lawn 4. Just slim
Well,
pickings.
this is something we have a feature at Nottingham, is that we kept having to shoo the squirrels away because they were coming to get the nuts that they'd buried presumably
This
in
is
the
not a
winter.
nice position to have ended up.
So that smattering of applause you might have heard is for Robert Fletcher going 2-0 up, so I imagine he and Gavin Carter will probably break for lunch now.
The treescape around the courts at Nottingham, I think, is one of my favourite anywhere. I don't know if you become blind to it after a while, but there's a plantation of conifers, and it's just so
Yes,
pretty.
on the new side,
Yeah.
and it's the different
So rich.
shades of green
Yeah.
I like. Yes.
It's really stunning.
So this break, it's just got a little bit out of
Is she going to
control.
bring yellow in much or not bother?
No, I think she's going to
She wants
concentrate on getting a rush on blue.
That's the problem, isn't it? When things
Um,
start going wrong,
she's not
you've
really-
got less chance to fix other stuff. So you're constantly. It's like, that's okay, isn't it? She's behind and it's dead in front. How confident are you on these lawns to do a very soft shot on blue here?
I think that black actually hilled a bit right to left.
So
from
not
her-
is the answer.
from her
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
I'm still expecting her to cope with this hoop approach, but you see this red at 4 back's gone too far
Yeah.
again. Okay.
So this is looking okay.
Now the thing to make sure you do here, and I'm sure she will, is to remember that you're not stopping at 4-back.
Yeah. Well, she's put a pioneer there, so
Yes,
I
exactly.
think she's fine on that front.
But just occasionally people do forget, don't
what's
they?
your leave here? A rush, obviously, to...
Oh, this will be another diagonal spread.
Same thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be quite definite that I would like a reverse diagonal spread.
Okay.
So sort of have a ball where yellow is, or maybe a bit south, and then the other oppo ball, the other side of the
you're
peg.
rushing over to there if you...
It's just, I thought for a while that it was easier to get a ball to penalt
Yes.
before rushing to 4-back if you were coming from south of where yellow is, rather than if you put the usual diagonal spread and they lift the ball at the peg.
When you have to make sure with that diagonal spread that it's definitely not on the boundary, but in a bit.
And also not too far south.
Yes.
Just near a 4-back. But I've been persuaded that actually doing a normal diagonal spread is just as good.
My problem, if I had to do a reverse diagonal spread, is I'd have to start thinking about it, and it would put me off.
Well,
all of a sudden, do something
that's
slightly
the thing.
different.
It's doing something slightly different, isn't it? But yeah. So anyway, I think we'll see a diagonal spread very similar to what she did after her first break.
But nothing fancy like a diagonal spread, but putting both the balls close to the peg.
Or the cross peg.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she could. It's just a little bit harder.
Things
Easy
can go wrong.
to mess up. Yeah. Because if you think about it, they've both got to be tight to the peg, because you're going to be
of course
east or west, and you mustn't leave a shot with the ball as it lies.
Also, you remove the polarity where benefits of a... But as you said, there's not much polarity. There's no polarity benefit diagonal spread.
No, I don't think so. Again...
Okay, it was a bit softer than I thought she was going to do that.
I mean, the extreme version of what I was saying earlier. About leaving a tempting shot with red, which Mark doesn't want to lift. Would be let's leave yellow as almost as a pioneer at 4-back. I don't think she'll do that. If you left yellow as a deepish pioneer at 4-back.
What about leaving yellow in the jaws of 4-back?
It's just too hard to organise, I think.
Yeah.
That's the problem with that. You'd leave red.
Because if you go for the peel and it goes through, then it's very easy to organise with.
I think if you were going
into the draws and it peels through, then you're in trouble. And quite often you see people put a ball in penult and a ball in rover.
The so-called vertical spread.
Yeah, my problem with that is that they lift the penult ball. You can't rush the rover ball anywhere anyway, so you basically have to make 2 hoops before you can benefit from the rover ball. Maybe I'm missing something. Don't quite.
Well, and another problem with it is that when you make a mess of the leave, you leave a 10-yarder from B balk or A balk, say.
Okay, yeah. The other thing I've seen go wrong there is where you make a mess of your break and they get a lift.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is quite painful.
Well,
Again, more bitter experience.
That's managed to land on a blade of grass there, hasn't it?
Yes.
It looks like when she moves blue, it's going to go into yellow, but maybe it isn't. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, okay.
It's not a disaster. You do now need to remember how to do this, so you do need to remember to rush red well to the east, just like
Yeah.
you're coming out of 3-back, basically the same
Yeah.
sort of position.
Probably easier because you don't need a forward rush on this one. So it's,
If well, you need a backwards rush.
yeah.
Do you think that's?
I
You prefer
I prefer
that
a
just
backward
because
rush
you?
because you don't have to. You don't have
Gotcha.
the
Yeah.
problem of going so gently through the hoop. And this is not the hoop she wants to blob. Oh, clean, very clean.
Okay, that looks pretty good. Thing to avoid there is if you rush red too far, you've suddenly put the peg yellow and blue in the way of where you want to send red.
Yeah, I think.
But
if
she hasn't. She's fine.
if-
Is this
The
a,
only-
is this a half roll? What's
So
going on?
she can't put yellow in the
Okay.
peg anywhere where it won't run to one, but it will run to her hoop, unfortunately. That's.
No.
It's just not possible
No,
because
well,
they're opposite sides of the
let's
court.
remember though, yellow's getting lifted.
Of course,
100%
yeah.
yellow
of
is getting
course,
lifted.
Yeah,
Has she messed
So,
it up?
so it doesn't matter.
Just
if
hit that
yellow's
a bit
been-
too hard. Just don't.
Oh, but he could
I
shoot
wouldn't-
it
I
red
wouldn't,
there, couldn't he? So,
Yeah, it's always the little details, isn't it?
it is.
Two things to look out for here. Obviously, she wants to leave yellow.
She
Cross
doesn't-
pegged from red.
Well, she
But
doesn't mind.
the other thing
No,
she's. Yeah, go
that's
on.
not so. As long as if red can see yellow, that's not so bad. It's just as long as yellow can't see red.
Yeah, true.
So
And then the other thing she has to look out for is, she's managed to avoid it,
That
is
is good.
pegging blackout.
yes.
When you're fiddling about with a ball that's for the peg, inches from the peg, it's many
Last
a
week
time,
I saw
many
that in
a
the
time.
qualifiers.
I've seen somebody, just wiggle off the peg slightly and go to take this rush, and the opponent's gone, no, you've just pegged out.
So last week at the qualifiers, Alison Morn did exactly that.
Right.
But luckily for her, she made a leave by accident where the two balls were cross wide, the opponents were cross wide at the peg, and the ball on her side couldn't see her because the peg was behind it.
Right.
Very fortunate.
Now, Paddy Chapman, the great student of the game of croquet, has pointed out on the chat that a vertical spread leaves a great leave when you're for penalt.
Ah, thank you.
Because then if you get a rush, you just need to rush to penalt.
Yeah, that makes
if
sense.
the ball at penalt's lifted, you've still got a pioneer at
Yeah,
rover.
yeah.
And neither of the oppo balls will rush to hoop 1 or hoop 2.
Of course, yeah.
And just to confirm, all of these matches, these second round matches, are best of 5.
Is the final best of 5, or does that get to
Oh
7?
yeah, no, 5.
Right.
5. I don't.
That would be. There's only so much croquet one can endure.
Don't want to tempt fate. Sort of. Yeah. 3 all.
Reg is quite
2
a
in the
slow
morning.
player, isn't he? So if his finals.
He won't thank you for saying that, Tudor. But yeah, he's quite meticulous. Let's say meticulous.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm not judging him, obviously. I'm only judging him for the better.
Well, there is a
from that I
story.
should learn to slow down.
Well, there's a story. I think the first World's Final that was filmed was 2012 in Adelaide. That was
Okay.
Reg beat Robert Fletcher, and people had been telling Reg he was a bit slow and he was having none of it. And then they persuaded him to have a look at the video, and he was amazed. He said, "I didn't realise I was like that."
He's so in his zone that
Yeah,
it just doesn't matter.
exactly.
Time means
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah.
Right, so because Gabrielle wasn't able to organise a triple peel, it means that Mark's got this sort of extra lift shot. But I'm going to venture to suggest that he absolutely has to hit this one if he's going to get back in this game. It's quite a long shot again. It's good 19 yards. Pretty straight as he hit that.
His body.
He's missed
You can
it
tell
again.
from people's body language
Well, when
quite
they
often,
lean,
can't you?
when they lean, it usually means
They're trying to bend the ball.
yes. It started off not online.
Yeah. Do you think the lean causes it, or they lean because it's off and they're trying to?
Oh, well, maybe a bit of both.
Okay.
So, Gabrielle on with the apparently simple task of just making the last 3 hoops and pegging out.
She's been here a lot of times before, so she shouldn't be too stressed out by this.
Will she rush this to the boundary? Yeah, looks like it. And
That's
if you could manage this, it's a fairly natural croquet stroke to send black as a pioneer to rover, and you're coming down the rush line on red to
black
rush
is
it
a
to full
pioneer to penult,
what did I say?
to rover.
Penult.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
Yeah,
I should have
thank
let
you.
it pass.
No. Yeah, definitely
No.
black to penult.
As long as it doesn't get in the way of your rush.
Well, absolutely. Yes.
That's the fatal error. So this is looking good.
Okay, now that's pretty good.
She's going
If
south.
you had a better stop shot,
Penult.
I think you'd probably want black to go a shade too far onto the east side.
Yeah, so it's
Simply because it's the same side as fallback.
yeah.
Again,
Yeah, all
for
the
that sort
small-
of rush, she always
That's
casts.
lovely, isn't it?
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, all these small things really add up and make a difference, don't they?
Well, they
So as
can
you say,
do.
putting it on the east or the west side, it's like it seems like a small detail, but when you're doing 40 to 60 shots in a break, they just multiply, and you know.
Well, this is the situation here. Is if you imagine black was a mirror image on the east side instead of the west,
waves, yeah.
then this shot after fallback she doesn't need a rush. It's a straight croquet stroke, sending red to over.
Oh, but she
Whereas
has a nice rush.
If she's got a rush, that's great.
Yeah, she's got enough wire, I think, to do it.
So you're sort of rushing this, but you're having
do
to
you want
rush
to
this 10 or 12 yards. Aren't
Do you want to go sort of peg high so you come along the rush line of black, or deep? Okay.
Well, I think
That's nice, isn't it?
I think that's pretty good.
I'd be very happy with that.
You're coming at rover from a bit of an angle, but I don't think that's a major problem.
Penult.
You're more or less going down the rush line for
Yeah.
black. I think she'll get a good pioneer.
Make sure she doesn't over hit right now. And the excitement. Nope, it's nice.
I like blue.
I like both.
Now,
I like both.
the other thing about having black on the east rather than the west, just because of this hoop, is you would then be rushing it uphill to the hoop. Whereas this, and she's done well there because she's gone
When
past
she's now
halfway.
approaching uphill. So
What,
this is nice.
what we've seen people, we're nervous for people who are approaching from the west,
Yeah.
northwest of that hoop. And I think hopefully she's remembered there's a bit of a hill. And okay.
No, the hill's got her.
Right, no,
hill.
well,
Got her there.
only slightly though.
Yeah.
If she'd gone another 3 inches closer, it might have been a problem, but
Beautiful.
Steady,
Clean.
steady. Well,
Do you roll up, or do you take off and then have red as a nice easy?
Well, it would be. It's one of those things. It's so much easier with a forward rush, isn't it?
Yeah. You can go
She's
to
got
yellow.
yellow. She's got
She's
yellow.
got yellow. I'd be tempted to go there,
I'd be very tempted to go to yellow.
especially with that far away from the peg. for her
I'd
peg
be
out.
rolling. I'd be rolling black to the peg, going to yellow.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't.
I'm
do
sure
this.
she'll be okay. I'm just reminded of a game we were watching on here in the block stage where Kevin Beard had the option. His partner ball was directly south of Penal when he was
Right.
and for the peg when he was for Rover, and he had the option to go and move it, and he chose not to, and he ended up not rushing close enough to the peg to peg out.
What's your sort of level where you'll start getting a bit uncomfortable with the peg out? About
Well,
8 foot, 10 foot
length
away?
of peg out. Do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Depends on the lawn and everything.
personally, he says arrogantly, I'm happy with 5 yards.
Okay.
And I'm not trying for 5 yards, but I think I'm pretty good at lining up straight, but more importantly, hitting straight to the
Yeah,
peg.
that's the key, isn't it?
Because it was no point lining up a straight peg out and then putting any pull in the croquet straight, however small you think that is.
And so some lawns you play on, it's virtually impossible to get balls in the line. There's a bit bobbly, the lawn, and you just can't get the line you want. In those situations, do you think, okay, I'll put a bit of pull on to compensate for this? Or do you just, is that just a recipe
I
for
won't say
disaster?
I won't say I've never done it, but I wouldn't recommend it. You see, it's just looking a little bit dodgy here.
I tell you, in my
I'm sure she'll be fine, but you've got to now go between
I'd go
the
to
hoop and
yellow.
you would go to yellow.
Yeah,
I
I
think she
definitely-
should have tried to get a rush on
I'd-
red to yellow, definitely.
But I'd go now to yellow. I definitely would.
Not sure I would.
You wouldn't? Okay.
Well, she's
Okay.
missed black, which is good.
That's the main thing. And this is
And
this is
then the
finishing.
final thing that can get, well, there's two things I suppose could go wrong. You could rush black behind red, so you couldn't see the peg. You could rush black onto the peg.
She's keeping
She's-
well clear of
okay,
the
she's
peg.
missed red
Yeah.
and kept well clear of the peg. So so it's looking like this match is going to be 1-1, and I'm expecting that. Excuse me, I'm expecting that they will take lunch.
I
At this
hope they
stage.
do.
Yeah. Well, it'll certainly give us a break, won't it?
Yes. And so possibly 3 games this afternoon.
Yep. So 1-1.
That's pretty exciting. I'm glad it was but this changed Mark's demeanour in any way or not?
Well, you just sort of think I've got to win a best of 3 now.
Yeah, of course, that's what it is, isn't it? Yeah.
So that was the story of that game. I'm guessing was that Mark did quite a bit of missing.
Well, he basically decided to do that large split shot across the court.
The one that
And-
got crosswired.
Yeah,
nearly crosswired.
and the reception ball, the pioneer on hoop 1 was outside the box,
Mhm.
and he came short of the hoop. It's hard to get much beyond the hoop on that shot, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
I
I
think
didn't know.
so.
I was away getting the.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a classic for a 6-2 pull. It doesn't start that one, where they corner into corner 4, and you have to put a ball up to hoop 2. I don't know if Mark does many of those or not. But also, I'd like to know how much he could see, because he took the shot on, so it obviously wasn't fully wired, and was just unlucky.
Yeah, did he have a viable option of going away back to partner? I don't know where the ball's
Yeah,
from.
I'm not sure. I Gabrielle was very split, so I think she had something like a 16-yard shot or something. So
Okay.
So he did have a viable way
Well, presumably he thought he was hitting.
going to hit it. And the other thing was he hit it full on, so he stayed there. He didn't
You're
glance
right.
off.
Right.
And so I think it must have been a bit of a miss hit.
So presumably quite a poor attempt, in fact.
Well, having
I don't know. I
having
don't see it,
bad-mouthed
but-
one good croquet player today, I'd be hesitant to say that. But it wasn't the outcome he was expecting.
Right. Okay, so I think we're
Shall
going
we-
to wind up and possibly get our own refreshments. So we're ready to take over when they come back.
Great.
Great to have you in the com box, Tudor. Maybe you'll
fun.
do some more this afternoon.
I'd love to. I've learnt a lot.
Excellent. So, cheerio for now.
Bye. How unfit is that? Yeah, so why did you stop playing?
Well, I've got a shake.
Okay.
Right-handed. I've got a shake. Left-handed.
Was that a neurological thing?
Yeah, in terms of photos, what we do is we'll put your scoring software. Just so that top. Yeah, we might, well, luckily we had a third one, so you took that on. I don't know what was it like from the viewers' point of view?
Well, there was one where it was okay. I mean, and I mean, sometimes I want to know what's going on in the other match.
Yeah.
And the other thing I appreciate is when you start watching the Aston versus Rumble.
Yeah, that was good. I think I might stop the stream actually. I think the last one.
So as the players are going for their lunch break, we're going to terminate this stream, and as soon as the players return for the third game in this best of 5 match, we'll be ready with the new stream and look forward to your company very shortly. Thank you.